Chapter 744. The rise of House Zhanghe had just started to behave himself in school, and now someone was asking him to take a picture? Roaming was about to open his mouth to curse when he raised his head to see Lin Yi and Tang Yun beside Xinwen, as well as the Miss and Yushu on the other side. He shut his mouth with a ga, thankful that he'd opened his mouth a little slower, otherwise he'd be in trouble. Other than Xinwen, he couldn't afford to offend any of these people. Fuck, he was so unlucky, running into so many people after playing basketball. But on the surface, Zhou Roaming put on a flattering smile. Isn't this boss Lin Yi and sis-in-law Tang Yun? Long time no see, looking for a photographer? I'm a professional. I've been to many private photo gatherings. Private photo? What's that? Tang Yun paused, not knowing what Zhou Roaming was talking about. Huh! Zhou Roaming realized that he had said something wrong and felt a little awkward. It's a private photo. Oh Yao sis, is it a photo of a female celebrity in a dating show not wearing any clothes? Yushu asked. Does he want to take nude photos of us? Ugh, no, that's not what I meant. Zhou Roaming jumped. Taking nude photos of the women beside Lin Yi? Wasn't he looking to die? What I meant was, I'm very good at taking photos. Oh, go ahead then. Yushu didn't say anything else to Zhou Roaming and stood beside Lin Yi, waving at Meng Yao. Yao sis, you stand on Shield Bro's right? Meng Yao didn't bother with Yushu, standing beside her instead. Tang Yun was still standing next to Lin Yi, and Xinwen was beside her. Zhou Roaming took a group photo with the five of them, and ran away with his tail between his legs. Who knew if Yushu would come after him? In the afternoon, most of the students came back. Pingzhan Industries' press conference was over, and all the parents and students knew what had happened. It was a black-hearted businessman who wanted to ruin the school's reputation and poison the cafeteria. As a result, the school had nothing to do with this incident. The police had already arrested the suspect, and the parents let their children go back to school. The homeroom teacher, Miss Liu, came back with a mission. She was one of the few people in the school who knew the inside story. Pin Liang was the culprit, but he was also the victim. It was because of losing a kidney that his mind was twisted. He was laughed at by his classmates, and that was why he went to such extremes. To put it bluntly, he lacked love, warmth, and care. As a result, Miss Liu organized a group of students to visit Pin Liang at the hospital. In fact, other than Yushu and Lin Yi who liked to laugh at Pin Liang, the others had more or less received benefits from him. Especially when Pin Liang invited them to the beach a while ago. Who would laugh at him? However, it was normal for them to look at him strangely. After all, everyone was curious. They wanted to know what was the difference between a person without a kidney and a normal person. Therefore, before this visit, Teacher Liu held a short class meeting for the whole class. Everyone, our classmate Zhong Pingliang has found a suitable kidney and just had a kidney transplant. He's now in the hospital. As a group, we should pay him a visit. After all, he's a member of our third grade class 5. Miss Liu said. This activity is voluntary. If you want to go to the hospital, get ready and wait at the school gate. The school's bus is already parked there. If you don't want to go, you can study in the classroom. The bus came from the press conference, so they didn't have to wait. They got on the bus and went to the hospital. They were in their third year of high school, so they didn't have much time to interact with each other. They listened to Miss Liu's words and stood up, ready to visit Pin Liang. Let me emphasize one point. You must not look down on Pin Liang. You must give him enough warmth and love. Let him feel the care of the group, Miss Liu reminded. Who wants to go through this kind of tragedy? Pin Liang is already pitiful enough. We can't let him be sad. Everyone nodded, thinking back to how they'd looked at Pin Liang with that weird gaze earlier. They wondered if that had hurt or confused Pin Liang in any way. Meng Yao didn't want to visit Pin Liang. It would be better if he died. Why would she care about him? But as the Miss of Pingzhan Industries, the daughter of the school's chairman, she couldn't not go. How would people think of her if she didn't go? Even if she didn't care, she had to think about her father's reputation. She couldn't let people say that Pengzhan's daughter was cold and heartless. She didn't even visit her classmate in the hospital. So, although Mengyao was unwilling, she still stood up with Shu and left the classroom. Linny didn't care. It was Mengyao's decision. If the miss went, he would go. If she didn't, why should he go? This was the second time the whole class came to visit Pin Liang. Fabai wasn't surprised when he received the call from Miss Liu. He knew that his plan had worked. His son had successfully deceived the police and the school's sympathy. He had turned the suspect into the victim. Pin Liang, you are getting more and more mature. You did well this time. It's a happy ending. Fabai hung up and praised his son. Your classmate is coming to the hospital to see you. He's on the way. Of course. How can a person grow without setbacks? I was too naive. I was played by Meng Yao and Yu Shu. Pin Liang nodded. I won't be so stupid in the future. And it's good that you can think it through. Fabai patted Pin Liang's shoulder. You're ready to give up on Meng Yao, right? It's too early to say whether I'll give up or not. But when I soar into the sky, Meng Yao will be my toy. Pin Liang laughed coldly. Since she never liked me and played me like a monkey, I won't let her go so easily. It's good that you have a goal, but don't act rashly. Fabai felt that it wasn't a bad thing to have something to motivate his son. Chapter 745. Whose kidney? Of course. Fabai agreed that his son should maintain a good relationship with Naipeo. Tu Heibao Bro was able to forcefully raise his strength to golden class early phase, and Naipeo should be able to do the same after going through systematic training. He might even be the future hope of House Zhong. Right, how do you feel about your kidney? Do you feel any discomfort? Although your kidney is very compatible, there's no guarantee that there won't be any rejection. It's just pain. Other than pain, I don't feel anything else. Pin Liang shook his head. Wounds hurt too. Let's get a doctor to check it in a few days, Fabai said. Zhang Wen's kidney trafficking company has been destroyed. I wonder how Lin Yi is doing? Who knows? I hope he's dead. Pin Liang really wanted Lin Yi to die. Fabai nodded. He had been staying with Pin Liang in the hospital for the past 2 days. He didn't go to Master Bing's place, so he didn't know how Lin Yi was doing. Intermittent footsteps could be heard from the corridor outside the ward. Pin Liang's classmates were here to see him. Zhong Fabai and Zhong Pingliang stopped their discussion as well. As expected, a knock came from outside the ward. Fabai stood up to open the door. Mr. Liu, thank you for bringing the whole class to visit Pin Liang. Thank you so much. It's Pin Liang's fortune to have good teachers and classmates like you, Fabai said gratefully as he knocked on the door, but before he could finish his sentence, his eyes landed on Lin Yi, who was standing beside Meng Yao. Fabai's eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. Hey! You, Lin Yi, oh? Uncle Zhong, you were looking for me? Lin Yi shrugged at Fabai. Naturally, he knew why he was surprised. From Fabai's perspective, he should be lying in the hospital like his son. It would be weird if Fabai didn't have this expression when he appeared here. You. Why are you here? Fabai lost his composure. He was a man of authority, but he still lost his composure. This was related to his son's kidney. Wasn't his son's kidney Lin Yi's? Whose did it belong to? Was Lin Yi's kidney removed or not? Oh, I was injured a few days ago, but I'm fine now. Lin Yi smiled. Fabai let out a sigh of relief when he heard Lin Yi's words. But then he thought about it again. Something was wrong. It had only been a few days since the kidney transplant. How could Lin Yi still be alive and kicking? It was completely illogical. Even if Lin Yi was a mystic class master, wasn't Uncle Zhu still lying in bed? Wait, he said that he was injured a few days ago. Could it be that he was injured by Uncle Zhu? When did you get hurt? Zhong Fabai asked subconsciously. Was he injured by Uncle Zhu? You don't know? Lin Yi asked back. Then Pin Liang. Fabai wanted to ask more, But he suddenly realized that Ping Liang's classmates were also here. He could only shut his mouth. He had a stomach full of questions. He could only invite Ping Liang's classmates and teacher in first. Otherwise, it would be bad if the police got suspicious. There were even police patrolling the corridor. Welcome to visit Ping Liang. Fabai suppressed his doubts and let Lin Yi and the others into the ward. Ping Liang was lying on his side on the bed. He was originally welcoming his teacher and classmates with a smile. He was about to say a few words of gratitude when he suddenly saw Lin Yi among them. He was stunned. Didn't Lin Yi's kidney get removed? He should be lying in the hospital now. How could he still come to visit him? How was it possible? Oh, Ping Liang classmate, I heard that you are now a healthy person with 2 kidneys. As long as it doesn't reject you, you will be the same as us. You don't have to worry about it. Yushu wanted to mock Ping Liang, but when she remembered what Professor Lu said before, she changed it to comfort him. However, this consolation sounded a little awkward. If it didn't reject him, then it would be the same. But what about rejection? Thank you? Ping Liang's mind wasn't on Yushu's sarcasm at all. Even if Yushu scolded his mother right now, he wouldn't feel much. At this moment, all his thoughts were on Lin Yi. Did Lin Yi give his kidney to him or not? If he didn't, then whose kidney did it belong to? Wouldn't that mean rejection? He suddenly remembered what Yushu said before. As long as it didn't reject him, then he would be the same as them. Was Yushu hinting at something? Ping Liang knew that Yushu and Lin Yi had a close relationship. Did Yushu know something then? Was she hinting at him that his kidney wasn't Lin Yi's? In other words, it wouldn't be a match, and there would be rejection soon? At that thought, Ping Liang's mind went blank, and his eyes started to glaze over. The illusion from before was completely gone at this moment. He was delusional enough to think that he could become a golden class master after getting Lin Yi's kidney, but now it seemed like his kidney wouldn't be a match. Ping Liang didn't know how he'd gotten through all this time. His classmates and teachers were trying to comfort him, but he didn't hear a single word they said. His mind was filled with thoughts of Lin Yi, his kidney, and Yushu's innuendo. His kidney wasn't Lin Yi's? Now it seemed like it was 80% true. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't be so kind as to visit him after his kidney was removed. He might even kill him. But Lin Yi didn't do that, and he even came to visit him openly. Then wouldn't he be? Ping Liang was still lying on the bed with a sluggish gaze after the teacher and students left. No one knew what he was thinking. The teacher and students thought that Ping Liang was too weak after the surgery and didn't want to talk. They didn't think much of it and left the ward after a simple glance at him. Lin Yi looked at Ping Liang meaningfully as he left. The kid's kidneys weren't showing any signs of rejection yet, were they? Zhong Fabai frowned. Obviously, he also thought of this tragic possibility. His son's kidney wasn't Lin Yi's. Did he get the wrong kidney? But Jiang Wen's kidney trafficking organization had been annihilated. It was impossible to find out who his son's kidney belonged to now. He didn't even know who to look for. Even if Jiang Wen wasn't caught, he must have escaped, and he wouldn't be able to contact him. Zhong Fabai sighed. Why was his son's life so hard? He finally got a kidney, and it still didn't match? Chapter 746. The couple. Ping Liang, don't panic! I'll go find the doctor now and ask them to do a full-body checkup for you. Ping Liang had completely lost his composure, and Fabai naturally couldn't do the same. Otherwise, Ping Liang would be even more anxious. Although he was panicking, he could only force himself to calm down. Maybe Jiang Wen and the others mistook that person for Lin Yi. They can't just grab a random person and exchange their kidney with you, can they? A kidney is worth a lot of money. They wouldn't do something so strenuous and unrewarding. Ping Liang calmed down a little after hearing his father's words. Indeed, Jiang Wen wouldn't do something so strenuous and unrewarding. It was better to exchange a compatible kidney than to exchange it for a random kidney. Kidneys could be sold for a lot of money. Exchanging a kidney was worth money too. Why would he do that? The only possibility was that Jiang Wen caught someone who looked similar to Lin Yi and mistook that person for Lin Yi, so he exchanged his kidney with him. Okay. Then let's do a checkup first. Pin Liang nodded. Fabai didn't dare to delay and went to find the doctor immediately. Pin Liang's kidney transplant wasn't done by Songshan's first hospital, so they didn't have the relevant data. They wouldn't follow up on Pin Liang's treatment, and only did some routine post-surgery treatment. Fabai was afraid that Pin Liang's kidney would attract the attention of the police, so he didn't ask the doctor to follow up on Pin Liang's treatment. He trusted Jiang Wen a lot. If Jiang Wen said that the kidney was a perfect match, then there shouldn't be any problem. Fabai wanted to wait for Pin Liang's body to recover a bit before giving him a full body checkup. But he couldn't care so much right now. Fabai found Pin Liang and pushed him out of the room for a full body checkup. At the same time, in another room in the hospital, as expected, Lu Buijia woke up in the afternoon, just as Lin Yi predicted. Even the doctors were amazed after seeing him. How was it possible for a person to wake up with a ventilator to sustain his life? His body's indicators had improved significantly. Other than some injuries, there were no other problems. Was this a miracle in the history of medicine? Lingshan, however, didn't mention the treatment process. She only told the hospital that they'd invited a specialist to treat him, and that the details were confidential. The hospital couldn't do anything about it. If the police said it was confidential, then it was confidential. They could only cooperate with the police and arrange for Lu Buijia's follow-up treatment. This time, Lu Buijia wasn't as stubborn as before. Perhaps he knew that he didn't die, but he didn't know if he would have good fortune in the future. Everything depended on his choice. Lu Buijia didn't expect that the psychopathic murderer would be able to find him after he entered the hospital. Moreover, he snuck into the ward under the protection of the police and almost killed him. If he didn't die this time, it was hard to say whether he would die the next time. Lu Buijia knew how ruthless those people were. Although this psychopathic murderer didn't say anything, he was definitely sent by those people to silence him. There was no doubt about it. Since he was going to die either way, Lu Buijia might as well cooperate with the police. He knew that as long as he was alive, those people wouldn't let him go. He might as well sentence him to prison. It was safer. Lu Buijia's condition stabilized. Lingshan and Yutian came in and sat not far from Lu Buijia's bed. Lu Buijia, you still don't want to say anything? Lingshan looked at Buijia on the sickbed. She thought that he was the victim, but now it seemed that it was just an internal conflict. If you weren't lucky enough to meet a miracle doctor, do you think you'd still be alive? Lingshan's words weren't polite, but there was no need to be polite to people like Lu Buijia. Not only did he cause Lin Yi to lose a lot of qi, but he also caused a lot of trouble and confusion for the police. After Lu Buijia woke up, he heard from the doctor about the time he was unconscious and the situation. He was completely relying on the ventilator to maintain his life. Once the ventilator was removed, he would die. All in all, the hospital couldn't do anything about his injury. The police invited an expert from somewhere to treat Lu Buijia, and that was how Lu Buijia was able to get out of danger. You guys, how much do you know? Lu Buijia asked with a bit of hope in his heart. He didn't know how much the police knew, so he could choose what he wanted to say. The tomb raiding organization codenamed couple has been arrested. Qin Yutian didn't say that the two leaders of the couple were killed. Instead, he said that they were caught. This was to give Lu Buijia psychological pressure that the police had found evidence of his crimes. According to their confession, you are also one of the tomb robbers, and you are also involved in their next plan. This time, your family was killed because of the other tomb robbers, right? Lu Buijia didn't know that Qin Yutian was right. Yutian didn't say it in detail, but he basically said the truth. But the more he said it, the more Lu Buijia thought that the police already knew most of the situation. After all, the couple was arrested, and the police would be able to find out everything about him. Couple thief? What do they do? Tomb raiding? What does that have to do with me? Lu Buijia tried to ask. He didn't believe that the couple would give him up as soon as they were arrested. This didn't make sense. He didn't have any conflict of interest with them. There were rules in the tomb raiding business. If you went in and bit people, then you might attract revenge from your peers. Even if you went in, you still have family, right? If they couldn't get revenge on you, they would get revenge on your family. Therefore, after many grave robbers were caught, they would only confess to their own problems. As for the other grave robber organizations and their sales channels, they would not say much. Otherwise, their families outside might very well incur the wrath of others. Haha, you're thinking that it's unrealistic for the couple to only give you up, right? Ling Shan had been a police officer for many years, and she knew how to read people's expressions. She knew what Lu Buijia was thinking just by looking at his expression. Chapter 747. Chapter 0747. Seeing Lin Yi, he believed that even if the couple mentioned him, they wouldn't say too much. They couldn't even explain their own crimes, so why would they mention him? In fact, the couple didn't mention anyone else, but we found a work handbook from them. There are some clues in it. Qin Yutian smiled and passed a copy to Lu Buijia. Lu Buijia's face changed when he saw the copy of the notes Qin Yutian handed over. Lu Buijia's name was written on the copy of the notebook, and it was also stated that he was investigating the tomb with the grave robbers. Of course, these words alone weren't enough to serve as solid evidence. However, the key point was that Lu Buijia didn't know that the couple had been killed during their resistance. Therefore, as long as the police interrogated the couple about Lu Buijia, they wouldn't be able to hide anything. At this moment, Lu Buijia didn't plan to hide anymore. He couldn't hide it anymore, so he might as well tell them everything. The handbook is correct. The psychopathic murderer was probably hired by the Red Tower tomb robbers to kill me. Lu Buijia sighed. Red Tower grave robbers? This tomb was discovered by you, Red Tower grave robbers, and Old Hay? Qin Yutian asked. It shouldn't be said that it was discovered by us, but by Red Tower, Old Hay, and Red Tower. Lu Buijia shook his head. I'm just an expert. Because I know a little about the tomb's mechanisms and secret passages, Red Tower would always call me along when they do something. They would also give me some of the loot, so it can be said that we're working together. Why did they want to kill you this time? Qin Yutian asked. I've seen this tomb. It's very dangerous inside, and I don't have full confidence that I can open it. But based on my past experience, there must be treasures under the danger. I'm planning to study it carefully after I come back and find a way to open it. Lu Buijia said. This has nothing to do with killing them? Qin Yutian frowned. The people from the Red Tower think that I want to take it all for myself. In fact, I do have this thought. Lu Buijia smiled bitterly. We've worked together for so many years. Who doesn't know each other? He guessed what I was thinking and was afraid that I would leak the information or that I would want to take the treasures of the tomb for myself, so he wanted to silence me. Tell us the location of the tomb and how to solve it, Qin Yutian said. You want to enter the tomb? Lu Buijia was stunned. That's impossible. You don't have a professional. If you go in, I'm afraid you won't be able to come out. You don't have to worry about that. Ling Shan interrupted him. You just need to cooperate with the police. Your attitude will determine your sentence. Okay. Lu Buijia didn't say anything else and nodded. Since he chose to cooperate, naturally, he would cooperate. He knew that with what he did before, even if he didn't get a death sentence, it would be a life sentence. Even if there was a life sentence, he was already in his 40s. It was hard to say if he could get out of prison while he was still alive. Before he went to prison, there were some things he had to tell Ling Shan. He may be a grave robber, but he was a person who knew how to repay kindness. Last time, the person who saved me from a psycho murderer was one of your people. Lu Buijia asked. Why do you ask? Ling Shan paused. I have around 30 million, and I took out 10 million to thank him. Lu Buijia said. To thank him for saving my life. Your money belongs to Black Gold. They'll confiscate it, Ling Shan said faintly. No, my money comes from legitimate sources. I write articles for magazines, and I work as a guide and specialist for all sorts of professional exploration groups. There's an account book in my study, And I've recorded all my earnings. Lu Buijia smiled. As for the antiques, I didn't sell any of them, they're all in the basement of my house. You'll know when you see them. Oh? Ling Shan paused and nodded. If that's the case, the police will consider respecting your wishes. Also, I'll take out another 10 million to thank the doctor who saved my life today, Lu Buijia said. The last 10 million will be enough for me to live on if I can get out of prison while I'm still alive. My wife and kids are gone, and there's no need for that much money. I might as well give it to the people who helped me. If I'm sentenced to death, you guys can donate the remaining 10 million to the Archaeology Research Institute. It'll be my last wish as an archaeologist. Ling Shan didn't think that Lu Buijia wasn't a sinner, but that he still had a kind heart and conscience. When she thought about it, the crimes he committed weren't completely heartless. The person who saved you that day and today is the same person. Ling Shan didn't want to lie to Lu Buijia. Are you sure you want to give him the 20 million? The same person? Ling Shan's words surprised Lu Buijia as well. He's a doctor? You can say yes, but you can also say no. Ling Shan didn't answer the question directly. Can I see him? Lu Buijia pondered for a moment, and suddenly asked. You want to see him? What's the matter? Ling Shan was curious about Lu Buijia's request. He saved me, and I want to give him some benefits, Lu Buijia said. Can you help me contact him? What kind of benefits? Ling Shan asked curiously. It doesn't have anything to do with my case, so I don't have to tell you. Lu Buijia was a bachelor as well, it didn't matter if he went in or not. All right, I'll contact him for you, but it's not up to me to decide whether or not you want to see him. Ling Shan nodded. If this benefit was given to someone else, she might ask, but since Lu Buijia said he wanted to give something to Lin Yi, she didn't want to ask. She still wanted Lin Yi to get some benefits, or else Lin Yi would lose a lot of pure qi. Lu Buijia nodded. I'm tired, I need to rest. I'll give you the information when I recover. Ling Shan and Yutian didn't stay long and left the room. Chapter 748. Give you some benefits. Perhaps he's thought things through after this life and death experience, Yutian said. People who've been through life and death are always different. Maybe. Ling Shan nodded as she dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi had just finished visiting Pin Liang when he got a call from Ling Shan. What's up? Lu Buijia woke up and wants to see you, Ling Shan said. Wants to see me? Why do you want to see me? Lin Yi couldn't understand why Buijia wanted to see him. He said he wanted to thank you and give you some benefits? Ling Shan said. He said he wanted to give you 20 million as a reward, but I told him you're a doctor, so he wants to see you and give you some benefits. Oh? Lin Yi was a little puzzled. What kind of benefits would Buijia give him? But since it was something good, Lin Yi had no reason to reject it. He'd saved him twice, and he didn't get anything in return. Is he still in the hospital? Yes, he's in the same room, Ling Shan said. Where are you? I'm at the hospital too. I'll go over now, Lin Yi said and hung up. After that, Lin Yi sent the Miss and Yishu a message, telling them that he had other things to do in the hospital and wouldn't be going back to school with the car. Yao, why is Shield Bro so busy every day? Yushu felt that Lin Yi was busy every day, busy with all sorts of things. I'm not sure. Maybe he's not a follower at all, and it was just a coincidence that he appeared in the villa. Meng Yao realized that she didn't understand Lin Yi at all. From a migrant worker to a mysterious master. Oh, then will he really leave in the future? Yushu was a little disappointed. Probably. We're all grown up now, and we need to learn how to protect ourselves. We shouldn't always trouble other people. Meng Yao looked out the window at the direction Lin Yi disappeared in, a little sad. But I don't want to grow up, Yao. Yushu shook her head. You have to think about it even if you don't want to. You're not young anymore. Meng Yao pinched Yushu's cheeks. See, you won't cry even if I pinch you, so you're not a kid anymore. What? I'm crying. Yushu started crying. Meng Yao ignored her and turned away, deep in thought. Lin saw Lingshan and Yutian outside Bujia's room. Lin! Lingshan walked over to Lin. You're here? Lu Bujia said he wanted to rest for a while. I'll go check on him. No need, I'll just go in. Lin shook his head. Rest? Lu Bujia had rested for so many days, so he must be very energetic now. Lingshan didn't say anything after hearing what Lin said. Since Lin did this, he must have his reasons. Lin pushed the door open and entered Bujia's room. As expected, Bujia wasn't resting. Instead, he was scribbling something on a piece of paper. He froze when he saw Lin. Who are you? You're looking for me? Lin didn't answer Bujia's question. You're the person who saved me twice? Bujia wasn't stupid. He immediately guessed Lin Yi's identity. Lin nodded. That's me. I'm a person who knows how to repay favors. Lu Bujia nodded, not suspecting Lin Yi's identity. Although Lin Yi looked a little too young, Lu Bujia had always relied on his skills to make a living. He knew that age doesn't determine one's ambition. Since Lin Yi was able to appear here, it meant that he had the police's permission. Who else could it be if not the person who saved him? Ha, I don't like to save people for free. Lin Yi shrugged. If it wasn't for Lingshan, I wouldn't have come to save you. Ha, nice. Bujia smiled. That's good. I like it. What do you want to give me? 20 million? Lin Yi looked at Bujia and asked faintly. You probably won't be interested in that. With your medical skills, you can earn 20 million no matter what. Bujia waved his hand. Lu Bujia waved his hand. He escaped from death this time, and the hospital couldn't do anything about it. Lin Yi cured him, and with his medical skills, Lin Yi wouldn't be short of money. Ha! Lin Yi smiled and didn't say anything. Did the police tell you who I am? Bujia asked. No, I didn't ask. Lin Yi shook his head. I'm an archaeologist, as well as a tomb raider. Bujia briefly introduced himself before continuing. According to the ancient books I've read, this tomb near Songtan might very well be the tomb of Zhang Liju, the medicine saint of the people. You're a doctor, and there might be something you need in this tomb. Oh? You want me to dig a tomb? Lin Yi blinked. Zhang Liju. Lin Yi seemed to have seen this name in one of the old man's books. The police might want to go. With your relationship with the police, you can go as well. Bujia passed the document to Lin Yi. This is the location of the tomb's mechanisms that I've deduced. It's not comprehensive, but it'll help you. Why don't you give it to the police? Lin Yi asked after taking a look. This has nothing to do with my case. I'll tell you if I want to, and I won't. Bujia smiled. Thank you. Lin Yi took the document. He didn't doubt Bujia's words because Bujia didn't look like he was talking. According to Lin Yi's observation, what he said should be true. Besides, there was no need for him to lie. We don't owe each other anymore. As for the 20 million, if you want it, then take it. If you don't want it, then donate it for me. It doesn't matter where you donate it to. It's already your money. Bujia smiled and closed his eyes. Lin Yi put the documents on his body and left the room. Lingshan and Yutian were waiting at the door. Lingshan wanted to say something when she saw Lin Yi come out. I'll be leaving if there's nothing else. Lin Yi looked at Lingshan. He knew that she wanted to ask what Bujia gave him, but Lin Yi didn't tell her. Okay. Lingshan was curious, but she felt that she shouldn't know that much. What if Bujia gave Lin Yi something that went against her principles? Should she do something? Lingshan felt a headache. Chapter 749. Trouble again. Lingshan? Yutian saw Lingshan staring blankly at Lin Yi's back, feeling bitter. Lingshan paused, coming back to her senses. What's wrong? Nothing, Mr. Lin's already gone. Yutian smiled. Ah, I understand. Lingshan sighed. I'll go back to the police station first. You staying here? I'll stay here. Yutian sighed. I don't know if the Red Tower tomb robbers will send more people after Lu Bujia. I've already contacted the local police, and they'll send people to help me. Lingshan nodded and went back to the police station, but got a call from Director Chen on the way back. The contents of the call, on the other hand, made Ling Shan very depressed. Today, the city leader was secretly investigating the price of food in the market, but his phone and wallet were stolen by thieves. This thief had reached a certain level of arrogance. Logically speaking, it wasn't the criminal police's turn to deal with thieves, the local police stations would deal with it. But this time, the city's leaders were alerted, and Chief Chen also pointed out that the thieves in Songshan had formed a group of thieves, carrying out organized and disciplined criminal activities. This needed the criminal police to investigate and deal with. There was no deadline given, but it was a case that the city leader was supervising. How could they not solve it as soon as possible? Ling Shan felt that she was so unlucky. She hadn't even dealt with one problem, and this one was coming. There was no end to this. She was the new captain of the criminal police, and she didn't even see this many cases when she was the vice captain. This group of thieves had been formed for a long time, too. Why did they have to deal with them now? But Director Chen had said it himself, so what else could she do? She could only carry out the order unconditionally. However, this thief group had very strict organizational discipline. It was impossible to hurt the entire thief group by simply catching a few thieves. It might even alert the enemy. Ling Shan drove the car, depressed, thinking about how to deal with this group. She thought about it for a long time, but still couldn't come up with anything. The normal thieves were all dealt with by the police station, and they didn't have records with the criminal police. Ling Shan couldn't think of anything right now, so she could only go back and organize the information. Subconsciously, Ling Shan took out her phone, but smiled bitterly when she took it out. How did I become dependent on him? You want to call Linny whenever you're in trouble? In the past, she'd only call Linny if there was something she couldn't handle, but now, no matter what happened, the first person she thought of was Linny. Forget it, I'll just fight my way over and try it out. Ling Shan's thinking was simple. Asking was better than not asking at all. Troubling Linny had become a habit anyways, and she felt like she owed him a lot of favors. She didn't feel pressured anymore. Linny got a call from Ling Shan not long after he left the hospital. What is it now? Linny picked up, wondering why Ling Shan was calling him again so soon. Linny, do you know anyone from the thief group? Ling Shan asked, hoping to give it a try. Thief group? No. Linny said straightforwardly. It was an answer Ling Shan had expected, but she was still a little disappointed. You really don't know? Ling Shan didn't want to give up. She felt that Linny was omnipotent, and whenever she asked him for help, he'd always solve the problem perfectly. Nope, why would I know them? Linny was getting impatient. Is there something you need? Yes. You're a good person, don't get angry. Ling Shan jumped, and her voice became soft and pitiful. Then can you help Miss Silly keep an eye out for them? It's a thief group. Oh, I'll tell you when I see them. Linny hung up the phone, amused. This Ling Shan really came to him for everything? Ling Shan hung up angrily. She'd tell him if she saw them? Didn't that mean she didn't say anything? Who would see a thief group for no reason? Ling Shan was still angry when her eyes focused on something not far from the road. A cute girl was currently putting her evil hand into the pocket of a man with a big belly. Very quickly, the girl got it. She took out a big wallet and walked to the side with a smile on her face. Ling Shan smiled coldly in her heart. She'd walked all over the place, but found it by chance. This girl was a repeat offender. She'd met her a few times before, but she never managed to catch her. She wanted to see if she could get any information about the thief group from her mouth. Ling Shan stopped the car by the roadside and got out, slowly approaching the girl. Xiaoke was in a really good mood today. She saw a rich and heartless fatty get out of the BMW and kick the little girl to the curb because a little girl selling flowers blocked his way. He ignored the little girl's cries and left after parking the car. The passers-by were angry but didn't dare say anything, so Xiaoke locked her target on this rich and heartless fatty. The fatty's alertness was really bad, and Xiaoke got him easily. She opened the wallet and saw that he had quite a lot of money. He counted and found that it was about 7 or 8,000 yuan. Shioka didn't expect her luck to be this good. She'd run into so many fat sheep these 2 days. Although she met a strong person yesterday who stole her money, she was still very lucky. However, as happy as she was, she didn't let her guard down. What happened with Linny yesterday reminded her that she couldn't let her guard down. So, when Lingshan approached, Xiaoka sensed it. Xiaoka casually put the money into her own wallet and threw the wallet into the trash can. Just when Lingshan was about to get close to her, Xiaoka turned and ran. "Xiaoka, stop right there!" Lingshan was about to explode. She thought that she could catch Xiaoka when she wasn't paying attention, but she didn't expect Xiaoka to be so vigilant. She ran away the moment she got close. "Bye, Lingshan sis!" Xiaoka turned around and made a face before disappearing at the end of the street. Lingshan didn't chase after her because she wouldn't be able to catch up even if she did. She'd chased her twice before, and she still couldn't catch Xiaoka. "Xiaoka! Just you wait!" Lingshan stared at the direction Xiaoka disappeared in, not angry at all. Chapter 750. Zhong Pingliang's tragedy in the hospital. Zhong Pingliang's medical report came out very quickly. The results shocked Fabai and Zhong Pingliang. The kidney showed signs of rejection and necrosis. It had to be removed as soon as possible. "The kidney is damaged?" Zhong Pingliang looked at the report in disbelief. Fabai, on the other hand, was smoking and pacing back and forth in the ward. This was the worst result. Although he had expected it, he still had some hope when he expected it. But now, there was no hope at all. "Fuck, Jiangwen my ass! He tricked me!" Zhong Pingliang was so angry that he threw the pillow on the bed to the floor. "Pingliang, don't be rash. You are still a patient. Don't get angry." Fabai was also very angry. "This Jiangwen, if you didn't want to replace Pingliang's kidney, then why did you have to replace it with someone who was not a match?" Of course, Fabai didn't believe that Jiangwen didn't know about it. In the doctor's words, 2 days of rejection meant that the kidney wasn't a match at all. Didn't they do a matching test? "Dad, what should I do? The kidney I just replaced is damaged?" Zhong Pingliang was in despair. "I thought I would be a normal person in the future, but now... No matter what, we should listen to the doctor and remove this kidney. Otherwise, the damage will be even worse if the kidney dies in the body." Fabai sighed and made a decision. "As for Jiangwen, we will have plenty of chances to deal with him in the future. But I really don't want to be a person with only one kidney anymore. It's too painful." Zhong Pingliang had wanted to become a master with a golden class kidney, but now, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. All his hopes were shattered. "We can look for a kidney slowly," Fabai said. "If we work for Master Bing, we will have a lot of money in the future. With money, we won't have to worry about not being able to buy a good kidney. The most important thing now is to remove this kidney. That's the only way." Zhong Pingliang clenched his fist. "Jiangwen, you and I are enemies. You have made me suffer 3 times. Including this nephrectomy, Zhong Pingliang had been cut 3 times. Since the decision was made, Zhong Fabai quickly contacted the hospital to perform a nephrectomy on Pingliang. The police, on the other hand, didn't suspect anything. After all, illegal agents scammed people all the time, and Zhong Pingliang was just unlucky. It took him so much effort to get a new kidney, and it was a mismatch. It died immediately. Of course, Jiangwen was lying in the ward with a face full of pain. He wanted to contact Zhong Pingliang, but he couldn't. The kidney was in Zhong Pingliang's body, and he didn't know if he could get it back. Although Jiangwen could use Haosen's connections to get him another kidney after leaving the hospital, a new kidney wouldn't be as good as the original one. He still didn't know that Pingliang's kidney was about to be removed. If he knew, he'd probably cry out loud. The news of Tang Yun's family buying a house quickly spread throughout the slums. Several residents of Shantytown, who had a good relationship with Mrs. Tang, came to the hospital at that moment. They wanted to ask Mrs. Tang if there was any way. After all, after the relocation of Shantytown, it was still uncertain what it would be like. Everyone wanted to buy another building to live in. What? Not only was it cheaper by 250,000 yuan, they even gave us home appliances and renovations? Finn's parents widened their eyes as they looked at the excited Mrs. Tang in disbelief. That's right. Our Lil Yi knows the big boss of the developer, and the manager of the sales office acts according to the big boss's mood. Otherwise, do you think I'm so lucky to get the special prize after getting a discount of 250,000 yuan? Although Mrs. Tang didn't say it out loud, the hint was obvious enough. In fact, she saw it clearly. She got an electric kettle, not a special prize. But when she thought about the way the manager looked at Fatty Lai, she guessed that Fatty Lai was the big boss. And Fatty Lai was very respectful to Lin Yi, acting like a little brother. How could Mrs. Tang not see that? Moreover, it was her family that asked Fatty Lai to do something for them. How could he treat them to a meal after he did it? Although Mrs. Tang didn't say anything before, she couldn't help but start bragging to her neighbors when she returned to the hospital. Lil Wang, you really found yourself a good son-in-law. Finn's mother sighed with envy. Your Finn isn't bad either. Although Mrs. Tang felt that Tang Yun found a good man, Finn was already a broken flower with a crippled leg. How could she find a good boyfriend? She was so lucky. Finn's mother froze and thought about it carefully. Her daughter couldn't be compared to Tang Yun. In this situation, she was still able to find Kang Xiaobo. It was a blessing from 8 lifetimes. Xiaobo and Lin Yi have a good relationship. Your family should be able to get a special price house, Mrs. Tang said. But the most important thing is to get the money. Without money, no matter how cheap the house is, it's useless, right? That's true. I wonder when Qibing Real Estate will come to talk about the compensation. Finn's mother shook her head. We aren't as lucky as your family. You got 3 million in one go. Sigh, isn't it because of old Tang's leg? Mrs. Tang's face bloomed with joy when she talked about the 3 million. She didn't feel sad at all. She knew that although the money was exchanged with her leg, it wasn't the case at all. If Lin Yi didn't teach Sihua's brother a lesson, would he take out the money so easily? It was impossible. Our Finn's leg is broken, but how can we get a single cent? Finn's mother sighed. That depends on the method. Maybe we can get that Kong Mingming to pay some money as well? Mrs. Tang suggested. How is that possible? How can he pay us? Finn's mother shook her head. As they were talking, Mrs. Tang's phone rang. Let me take this first. Mrs. Tang looked at the caller ID in confusion. It was an unfamiliar number. Mrs. Tang didn't have many calls. Other than Tang Yun and Tang Jiuqing, no one else would call her. Hello? Hello? Mrs. Tang picked up the phone. Hello, is this Miss Wang Yujia? Su Jiaoneng tried to make his voice sound gentle. Yes, and you are? Mrs. Tang froze. She didn't know who the person on the other side of the phone was. Hello, Miss Wang. I am Su Jiaoneng, the project manager of Qibing Real Estate. Su Jiaoneng said politely. Chapter 751. Compensation for demolition. Although Mrs. Tang knew how powerful Lin Yi was, she was still afraid of the people from Qibing Real Estate. Those people were like the mafia, overbearing. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's protection, she wouldn't dare to come into contact with them. It's like this. Didn't we demolish your house before? So, the compensation for your house has been approved. We would like to invite you to the headquarters of Qibing Real Estate, Qibing Tower, at 8 a.m. tomorrow to discuss the compensation with us, Su Jiaoneng said. Ah? There's compensation? Mrs. Tang was taken aback. She thought that the 3 million Lin Yi had asked for already included the compensation for the demolition. Why was he giving her money now? Mrs. Tang was shocked. Of course, we demolished your house, so we'll naturally give you compensation, Su Jiaoneng said. Of course, we've set the number at 2 million. You'll have to come tomorrow to discuss the details. If you think it's not enough, you can bring it up tomorrow. Okay. Is it 8 a.m. tomorrow? I'm coming over. Mrs. Tang was shocked. Another 2 million for no reason? Okay, After you arrive, take the elevator from the underground parking lot and go to the second floor. You'll see the demolition team there. Su Jiaoneng hinted to Mrs. Tang to let Lin Yi drive her there. Okay, I'll remember it. No problem, see you tomorrow. Mrs. Tang quickly noted it down. After hanging up, everyone looked at Mrs. Tang in confusion. Wang, what's wrong? What compensation? Xiaofen's mother asked curiously. Didn't my house get demolished? Someone called Su Jiaoneng from the demolition team of Qibing Real Estate called me and asked me to go to his company tomorrow to get the compensation. 2 million! Mrs. Tang was shocked by the number herself. Her house was worth at most 100 to 200,000. How could they compensate 2 million? Mrs. Tang's first thought was that it was Lin Yi's contribution. Wasn't Qibing Real Estate managed by Zihua and Master Bing? Could it be that Zihua was afraid that Lin Yi would cause trouble for them, so he came to please Lin Yi? Thinking about it, this was the only possibility. 2 million! When Xiaofen's mother heard this number, she was immediately dumbfounded. The other neighbors were also the same. After hearing this number, they were suddenly shocked and didn't know what to say. Your house is worth 2 million? Lu Xinwen's mother asked in surprise. Humph, they are afraid of Lin Yi. That's why they gave us 2 million. Otherwise, that broken house is not even worth 200,000, let alone 2 million. Although Mrs. Tang said it calmly, she was very happy in her heart. Like I said, our broken house is worth 2 million. We can even buy a villa with 2 million. Xiaofen's mother shook her head. It's already not bad if they can give us 80 to 100,000. Don't say that. This kind of thing depends on negotiation. Mrs. Tang laughed. Xiaofen's mother and Lu Xinwen's mother sighed. Negotiation? Our family doesn't have a powerful figure like Lin Yi, so where would we go to negotiate? Will they negotiate with us? Xiaofen's mother and Lu Xinwen's mother were a little dispirited when they thought about the gap between their family and the developer. They chatted for a while and left to discuss how to deal with the developer. Previously, they thought that Tang Yun's family was very unlucky. They were the first to get their house demolished. But now, it seemed that they were the best. After the neighbors left, Mrs. Tang immediately told the good news to Tang Yun. Qibing Real Estate Company just called me. They want to compensate us 2 million for the demolition fees. Mrs. Tang just saw a huge sum of 3 million, and now there was another 2 million. She wasn't as excited as before. They want to compensate us 2 million? Really? Tang Yun didn't believe it. Didn't they just compensate us 3 million? Why do they want to compensate us 2 million today? I don't know. Maybe they are afraid of Lin Yi? They want to spend money to please Lin Yi and are afraid that Lin Yi will cause trouble for them again? Mrs. Tang guessed. Yesterday, that Li Zihua was quite afraid of Lin Yi, right? Please? There's no need for that, right? Tang Yun heard her mother's words and became suspicious. Although he is afraid of Lin Yi didn't say anything. There's no reason for them to give us money on their own, right? This doesn't make sense, right? Doesn't make sense? How is it not reasonable? Isn't it good that they are giving us money? Mrs. Tang felt that Tang Yun was being too careful. It's not that it's not good, but why would they give us money? Mom, I think there's something wrong with this. Tang Yun felt that something was wrong. Why would Li Zihua give them money on his own initiative? When Lin Yi asked for 3 million, he was unwilling to give it to him. Why would he give it to them on his own initiative now? Won't we know tomorrow whether there's a problem or not? Mrs. Tang didn't care. Tomorrow at 8 in the morning, they want us to go to the second floor of Qibing skyscraper to collect the compensation. Can you ask Lin Yi if he is free and ask him to go with us? Oh. Tang Yun wanted to ask Zihua what he was up to, but Zihua didn't seem to care. He gave them 3 million before, and now he gave them 2 million. Lin Yi received Tang Yun's call on the way to school. When he heard from Tang Yun that Qibing Real Estate wanted them to go to Qibing skyscraper to collect the compensation tomorrow, Lin Yi was stunned. The Qibing skyscraper is finished already? Tang Yun thought that Lin Yi would be curious about the compensation, but she didn't expect Lin Yi to ask such a question. She couldn't help but be amused by Lin Yi. Why? Do you want to demolish it again? Oh, I'll demolish it again if you piss me off again. Linny smiled. His skyscraper collapsed, and he still wants to give you money? Are you retarded? I think so too. Do you think there's a problem here? Tang Yun had been worried about this problem. Ha! Aren't we idiots if we don't take the money? Linny didn't think there was a problem. Since they are giving us money, I'll go with you tomorrow. But Tang Yun still felt that something was wrong. Even if there is a problem, what can we do? I'm here, what are you afraid of? Linny was clear that even if Li Zihua and Zhao Qibing wanted to do something, what could they do? His strength had completely recovered, and it was impossible for them to make him stay. And Tang Yun heard Lin Yi's words and nodded. Yes, with Lin Yi here, what was there to worry about? Chapter 752. House You Came. After ending the call with Lin Yi, Tang Yun sent a message to her mother, telling her that Lin Yi would accompany her to Qibing Building to get the compensation. Mrs. Tang was relieved when she heard that Lin Yi would be accompanying her. Zihua was so afraid of Lin Yi, so she believed that he would be able to get more compensation tomorrow. From Su Jiaoneng's tone, it seemed like the compensation could be increased. Lin Yi didn't think much about it. When he returned to school, he was relieved to see Miss and Yushu in the classroom. Lin Yi felt that these were troubled times and he should be more careful. Lin Yi's feeling was right. At this moment, in the office of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, Fatty Lai's office, there was an uninvited guest. Although the products of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company hadn't officially entered the market yet, the company was already starting to take shape. It was completely reformed from the previous trading company, and only a few new departments were added. This was a piece of cake for Fatty Lai, a veteran in the business world. After Fatty Lai accompanied Lin Yi and Tang Yun to buy a house, he returned to Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. He used the poisoning incident of Songshan's first school to make a name for Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Fatty Lai wanted to follow up and release his company's first product, Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine, into the market. Fatty Lai was preparing a marketing plan and wanted to have a meeting with the higher-ups of the company. But when he returned to the company, his secretary called. Boss Lai, there is a client who wants to see you. He said that he is from Yanjing and wants to discuss a collaboration with our company. The secretary said. Do you think I'm already back at the company? Where is he? Fatty Lai was startled. His company's products weren't even released into the market, and someone wanted to discuss a collaboration? However, in this period of time, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's name was very well known. They also shone in the auctions in Yanjing. If this customer came from Yanjing, then it was possible. In the VIP client room next to the general manager's office, the secretary lowered his voice. Director Lai, this client looks very young. Age isn't a symbol of strength. I'll take a look first. Fatty Lai thought to himself. Wasn't Lin Yi young as well? But his strength was quite formidable. Fatty Lai entered the company, and all the employees greeted him. Although the company was called Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Company, the employees knew that Fatty Lai was the one in charge of the daily management, so they respected him. Fatty Lai took the elevator up and went straight to the VIP room without stopping. This was the first client he was going to work with, so Fatty Lai had to pay attention to it. The secretary saw Fatty Lai enter the VIP room and quickly stood up to welcome him. Chairman Lai, you're here. This is the client from Yanjing, Mr. Yu. Mr. Rain? Fatty Lai's eyes narrowed. His surname was Yu? Could it be someone from House Yu of Yanjing? House Yu wanted to work with him? Fatty Lai nodded and said to the secretary. Okay, I got it. You can go do what you need to do. Yes, Mr. Lai. The secretary placed the tea in front of Fatty Lai and Mr. Yu and left the meeting room. Chairman Lai, right? The young man with the surname Yu seemed to be arrogant. He didn't stand up but looked at Lai Changyi indifferently. Let me introduce myself. I'm Yu Kun. This is my name card. Yu Kun took out his name card and passed it to Fatty Lai. Fatty Lai didn't mind Yu Kun's arrogance. He was a businessman, so he didn't show his emotions on his face. He still smiled as he took Yukun's name card. He looked at the content. House U Business, General Manager Assistant Yukun. House U Business? Fatty Lai didn't doubt it anymore. This Yukun really came from House U. As such, it was normal for him to be a little arrogant. People from House U, the head of the 4 big houses and 5 small houses. People who came from there would definitely have a sense of superiority in their hearts. Hello, Assistant Yukun! Fatty Lai smiled and shook Yukun's hand. He was laughing coldly in his heart. You don't have to act all high and mighty in front of me. Sooner or later, your House U will come and carry my shoes for my boss. When that time comes, you'll have to get permission from me as your follower. I don't believe that no matter how powerful your House U is, you're all immortal monsters and won't die of old age. As long as you're sick and others can't cure you, you'll have to beg me if you want to live. Yukun still didn't stand up. He just sat there and reached out his hand to shake Fatty Lai's hand. We don't need to say anything unnecessary. Let's get to the point. Mr. Yu, please go ahead. Fatty Lai nodded and sat opposite Yukun. He looked like he was all ears. Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine company's pill of life extension and toxin cleansing and injury medicine were very popular in our House U's auction. I heard that your new product is going to be released soon. It's called Miracle Dr. Guan's Injury Medicine? Yukun asked indifferently. That's right. It's in the final stage of preparation. It'll probably be released soon. Fatty Lai didn't hide anything. He had already said this during the press conference. There was no need to keep it a secret. Yes. Although your pill of life extension and toxin cleansing and injury medicine are quite popular, the future of this injury medicine is still unknown. Am I right? Yukun looked at Fatty Lai and said in a condescending tone. Hee, of course. It's hard to say what the future of something that hasn't been released yet. Fatty Lai was still smiling. However, he was very dissatisfied with this Yukun. Who the hell do you think you are? You dare to question the future of Boss's injury medicine? You idiot. If you weren't from House U, I would have kicked you out of this meeting room. It seems like Mr. Lai is a smart man. This time, I'm representing House U to give your Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine company a benefit. Yukun looked at Fatty Lai indifferently. However, before that, Mr. Lai must answer a few of my questions truthfully. Oh? What questions? Fatty Lai was getting more and more annoyed. Was this Yukun retarded? Giving him a benefit? With his attitude, what benefit could he get? Why did House U send an idiot over? Chapter 753. For the map. Besides, if Yukun's negotiation partner wasn't Fatty Lai, but someone like House Kong, who was eager to become a noble house, then no matter what Yukun's attitude was, the other party would be grateful to him. This was House U's prestige, and it was also the pride of House U. So, from House U's point of view, Yukun's attitude wasn't inappropriate at all. House U talking to someone else was a form of charity, a form of grace. But this time, they were looking for the wrong person. In Fatty Lai's heart, Lin Yi was the supreme being. House U was nothing in front of Lin Yi. House U was powerful. Then why did you buy our pill of life extension and toxin cleansing? The question is simple. Mr. Lai once bought a broken piece of the map in our House U's auction. May I know why Mr. Lai bought this piece of the map? Yukun went straight to the point. He didn't think that Fatty Lai would hide anything in front of House U. If he was able to participate in House U's auction, then he must know House U's background. Who would dare go against House U? Map? What map? Fatty Lai was startled. Since when did he buy a map? Yukun looked at Fatty Lai's expression and froze as well. He was a practitioner of martial arts, and was good at reading people's expressions. From Fatty Lai's shocked expression, it seemed like Fatty Lai didn't know much about the map. However, Fatty Lai suddenly remembered that he did help Lin Yi bid for a fragment of the map. Could it be that House U's people were here for the map? What cooperation? Benefits? Were they all excuses? Fatty Lai thought that it was possible. It was obvious that Yukun came with a purpose, and that purpose was the map fragment. What kind of secret was hidden in the map? Mr. Lai, are you forgetful? Yukun looked at Fatty Lai mockingly. You bought a map from the auction. How could you not remember? I remember. Fatty Lai knew he couldn't hide it anymore, so he admitted it. But I bought it out of curiosity, so I didn't think of it when you asked. Indeed, there is such a sheepskin map. Since Mr. Lai remembered, that's great. What are you going to do with this map? Can you tell me? In other words, do you have a similar map fragment in your hands? Yukun was 80% sure that Fatty Lai didn't know what the map was for. Otherwise, Fatty Lai wouldn't have that shocked expression on his face when Linny asked him about it. I'm just curious, it's no big deal. I've never seen anything like it. Fatty Lai shook his head. Really? Obviously, Yukun didn't trust Fatty Lai's words. Fatty Lai might not know the secret of the map, but if he hadn't seen the map before, why would he buy something useless? Of course. Fatty Lai smiled. All right, if that's the case, give me the map and I'll still give you something good. Yukun decided to change his strategy. He wanted Fatty Lai to give him the map. If it was useful to him, he wouldn't give it to him. If it was useless, he would give it to him. Oh, you want to give me something good? Can you tell me about it first, Mr. Yu? Fatty Lai didn't agree to Yukun's request directly. It's fine if I tell you. As long as you give me the map, House Yu will be the sole distributor of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, Yukun said faintly. All you have to do is sit back and count your money. Huh? Fatty Lai looked at Yukun in disbelief. You call this a benefit? You sure have a big appetite. You want to be the sole distributor of my company's products? Are you an idiot or am I an idiot? The popularity of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company's products was foreseeable. Fatty Lai knew how powerful Linny was and how effective the products were. It could be said that whoever was the distributor would make the most money. Fatty Lai, on the other hand, didn't want to give up the dealership. He had a trading company that had merged with Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company to become a marketing department. He could do his own channels, so why would he give the profits to others? Of course, if it was a small company that wasn't famous, if they could establish a relationship with House Yu's trading company and let them be the sole distributor, they wouldn't have to worry about the sales. House Yu had a wide network. No matter where it was, they would give them face. So, under normal circumstances, if House Yu were to be the sole distributor of a new product, the company would save a lot of effort. Not only would they save on the distribution fees and advertising fees, they wouldn't have to worry about the sales of the product. Because everything would be decided by House Yu. However, to Fatty Lai, this was like asking for a lion's share. How was this a benefit? It was obvious that Fatty Lai wanted benefits from him. How is it? Aren't the conditions good? Yukun saw Fatty Lai's surprised expression and thought that he was shocked by the generous conditions. He couldn't help but feel proud. If it's a distribution cooperation, then I can't make the decision. Our Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company has a sales department, and we have our own distribution channels. Fatty Lai smiled apologetically. But if House Yu's trading company wants to order some injury medicine in bulk, we can give you a good price. What do you mean? Yukun's face darkened immediately. He didn't expect Fatty Lai to reject him. House Yu offered to be the agent of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company and was rejected? Yukun felt like he had lost face. Not only did he lose face, but House Yu also lost face. How could Fatty Lai refuse to do something that others could only dream of? Didn't he know how wide House Yu's distribution channels were? A new product that hadn't even entered the market, and he wanted to create his own distribution channels? The market was now under the control of Dr. Kang's golden creation. How could a new brand like you want to create your own? You did have some reputation in the upper class, but you want the people to recognize you without House Yu's distribution channels? Dream on. Mr. Yu, the company doesn't belong to me alone. I'm just a manager. Within my authority, I can only discuss the supply and sales of the product. As for the distribution rights, I don't have that power because the company's original intention was to be the agent. Fatty Lie shrugged. Chapter 754. Was this considered a benefit? House Yu had high hopes for the products from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. After all, the effects had been tested. As long as it was a special edition injury medicine, it would be very useful. So House Yu smelled a business opportunity and wanted to get the distribution rights before Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company became famous. Then they wouldn't have to worry about the future. Money would come rolling in. From House Yu's perspective, although Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company had good products, it was still a small company. They would definitely feel uneasy when the new products hit the market. If a giant like House Yu cooperated with them, they would be overjoyed. They would even give up a lot of benefits. House Yu's plan was good. That was why Yukun was so arrogant. He didn't want to be rejected by Fatty Lie and lose all his face. His arrogant attitude before was like a monkey. Fatty Lie didn't even want to give up the distribution rights. He was just thinking too much. This isn't my personal decision. I've said it before, I'm just a professional manager. Fatty Lie smiled. Mr. Yu, other than that, what other benefits will you give us? Fatty Lie's words sounded like mockery to Yukun's ears. Yukun's face turned red and he looked at Fatty Lie with hatred. Piece of the map, name a price. I'm sorry, I don't lack money. Besides, I gave the map to someone else. Fatty Lie shook his head. Gave it to someone else? You actually gave it to someone else? Yukun was agitated and lost his good attitude. He was one of the most outstanding disciples of the third generation of House Yu. He was the object of admiration everywhere. But here, he was being rejected. He had lost his patience and was getting angry. I bought it with my own money. Why can't I give it to someone else? Fatty Lie shrugged. Good, very good. We'll see. Yukun stood up and walked out of the guest room. You will know the price of offending House Yu. Offending House Yu? Fatty Lie looked at Yukun's back and laughed coldly. This was a disciple of House Yu. What the hell? He had been talking to him in a friendly manner. He only rejected his overbearing suggestion, and now he offended House Yu? With this kind of upbringing, House Yu wouldn't last more than 3 generations. In the past, Fatty Lie might have been afraid of House Yu, afraid that they would cause trouble for his company in the future. But now that he was with Lin Yi, he felt that Lin Yi was omnipotent. House Yu was nothing compared to Lin Yi. After Yukun left, Fatty Lie called Lin Yi. He had to tell Lin Yi about this. Boss, is it convenient for you to speak now? Fatty Lie asked. Speak. Lin Yi had just arrived at school, and there was no class today, so no one noticed that Lin Yi was answering the phone in the classroom. Just now, House Yu sent someone over. Fatty Lie said. It's a young man called Yukun. He looks like he's in his 20s. House Yu? Yukun? What are they here for? Hearing the 2 words House Yu, Lin Yi took a deep breath. They're here to ask about the fragment of the map that you bought at House Yu's auction. Fatty Lie said. They asked me if I know what it's used for and if I've seen similar fragments. Oh? Could it be that they purposely took out the fragment of the map from the auction? Lin Yi suddenly thought of the young man who followed him that night. His martial arts weren't weak. At first he thought that he was sent by House Kong, but now that he thought about it, House Kong didn't have any masters. To be able to order a golden class master around, who else other than the aristocratic families could do it? Could it be that he was also from House Yu? Did he follow them for the fragment of the map as well? That's possible. Fatty Lie nodded. Otherwise, he wouldn't have tried to buy the fragment of the map from me. If they wanted it, they could have gotten it at the auction. They wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. Ha! Lin Yi smiled faintly. The fragment of the map seemed to be a treasure. Lin Yi put it in his drawer because he didn't know what it was used for, so he didn't take it out to study it. Now House Yu was treating it as a treasure? Could it be that they knew the secret of the map? Also, the funny thing is that this Yukun kept saying that he wanted to give us a benefit. The benefit he was talking about was the distribution rights of our company's products. That's ridiculous. You call that a benefit? He just wants a benefit, right? Fatty Lie said sarcastically. Ha, if it was some other small company, they might treat it as a benefit. Lin Yi smiled faintly and reminded. House Yu has a lot of masters. Take care of your own safety. Don't fight them head on. Of course, I know. I've always been humble. It's just that Yukuin is too arrogant. Fatty Lie shook his head. Did he leave just like that? He didn't say anything else? Lin Yi didn't believe that House Yu would give up just like that. If they really came for the map, they would definitely do something. He said that I'll wait and see. He wants me to know the price of offending House Yu. Fatty Lie said. I got it. Lin Yi's lips curved slightly. House Yu, it doesn't matter if you're a hidden house or a huge force. You better not mess with me. Otherwise, no one will look good in the end. Lin Yi hung up the phone. He didn't mind. Since House Yu wouldn't give up, he would just have to wait for them to come to him. After hanging up, Lin Yi looked at the message on his phone. There was a message when he picked up the phone. My daddy wants to treat you to dinner tonight. The message was from Mississippi. Chu Pingzhan wanted to treat him to dinner? Lin Yi thought that it was probably because he saved Meng Yao yesterday. Since Chu Pingzhan wanted to treat him, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't reject it. He replied, Okay, I got it. The young mistress received the message. She lowered her head and glanced at it, but she didn't reply. Lin Yi felt that after what happened yesterday, Mrs.'s attitude towards him seemed to have changed. She wasn't like before, always looking for trouble with him. Their relationship seemed to have calmed down a little. But it seemed to be a little distant, because the first Mrs.'s attitude towards him seemed to be unapproachable, as if she was treating a stranger? Chapter 755. The miss with insomnia. Without a doubt, with Lin Yi joining the villa, Meng Yao was confused at first, but after Meng Yao completely accepted Lin Yi's existence, Meng Yao didn't want Lin Yi to leave. Lin Yi took care of her meticulously, even better than her father and Faubert. He allowed the miss, who lacked a mother's love since young, to find her own happiness. She even wanted to let Lin Yi stay in the villa for the rest of his life, taking care of her and Shu. But Meng Yao knew that it was impossible. There was still Tang Yun in the middle, and this was the reason why the miss hated Tang Yun so much. She didn't think that she hated Tang Yun because she liked Lin Yi, but because Tang Yun took away the happiness that was supposed to belong to her. If Lin Yi left, who would care for her? Meng Yao didn't want Lin Yi to leave. It wasn't until yesterday, when Lin Yi looked at her body, that Meng Yao had some strange thoughts in her mind. If Lin Yi was her boyfriend, then wouldn't he have left? Even Meng Yao herself was shocked by the thought. She liked Lin Yi? Was it true? Impossible. It must be because Shu was messing around all day, calling her first wife and second wife, that she was going crazy. But Meng Yao really wanted Lin Yi to stay. She didn't know what to do. Who could she talk to? With Yushu? That girl's mouth wasn't tight, and she had a wild imagination. She might not even be able to express herself clearly, and it would become that she was chasing after Lin Yi? Meng Yao didn't dare to tell her. Her father just called, saying that they were going out for dinner to thank Lin Yi, so Meng Yao sent Lin Yi a text. Seeing that Lin Yi agreed, Meng Yao calmed down. Yao sis? What's wrong? Why do you look like you're in a trance? Yushu observed Meng Yao for a long time. Trance? No way, right? I didn't sleep well last night. Meng Yao shook her head. Oh, then why didn't you sleep well? Yushu asked. It's because I've just recovered from a serious illness. Meng Yao, naturally, wouldn't reveal her true thoughts. Oh, I thought you were thinking of Shield Bro, Yushu said, staring at Meng Yao. What do I want him to do? You think I'm like you? Meng Yao frowned, turning her head away from Yushu. Yao sis, I feel like something's wrong with you, Yushu said seriously. What's wrong now? Meng Yao felt that Yushu was really annoying. She just liked to find out this and that whenever she had nothing better to do. It's hard to say. I'll tell you after I observe, Yushu said after some thought. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. Keep observing then, I'll go read. With that, Meng Yao picked up a revision book and started reading. Yushu stared at Mingyao for a while but didn't find anything wrong with her. She went back to her book as well. After school, Lin Yi drove Tang Yun back to the hospital before heading to Pingzhan Business Hotel. Pingzhan was treating, naturally, this was his first choice. Pingzhan Business Hotel seemed to be unusually crowded today. The outdoor parking lot in front of the entrance was already full. Lin Yi had no choice but to drive to the underground parking lot. The underground parking lot was a membership system. Only guests with Pingzhan Business Hotel's membership card could park there. When the manager of the parking lot saw Lin Yi driving a broken van with a diamond card, he was shocked. Was this the dirty hobby of rich people? Lin Yi didn't care about the expression on the manager's face. In fact, Lin Yi didn't have to drive this broken van to show off. It was just that there was a car that Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to change. If this car broke down or got lost, Lin Yi would just change to another one. The elevator in the parking lot went straight to the private room upstairs. It was the same room that Pingzhan treated him to last time. Lin Yi knocked on the door. Soon, Faubert opened the door and saw Lin Yi. "Mr. Lin, you're here." Faubert's attitude towards Lin Yi changed from normal to sincere respect. This was because of his understanding of Lin Yi's strength. Lin Yi fought Uncle Zhu to a draw, and Uncle Zhu was lying on the bed right now. Lin Yi, on the other hand, acted as if nothing had happened. People with strength would always be respected by others. Faubert was a golden-class physical practitioner. He was naturally respectful towards a mystic-class spiritual practitioner like Lin Yi. This had nothing to do with Pingzhan. It was just his personal respect towards Lin Yi. "Faubert, am I late? Sorry to keep everyone waiting." Lin Yi smiled as he walked into the room. "Oh, Shield Bro is here. Can I start eating now?" Yushu obviously couldn't wait any longer. She looked at the dishes on the table with saliva dripping from her mouth. "Shu!" Meng Yao glared at Yushu. "Don't be rude. Why do you look like a starving ghost? Be careful that you won't be able to find a husband in the future." "Oh, I can if you can find one." Yushu didn't care at all. Meng Yao was speechless. "Lin Yi, come sit." Pingzhan stood up from his seat and walked towards Lin Yi. Pingzhan was very confident in Lin Yi's ability. His daughter was safe this time, and the school's problem was solved perfectly. Lin Yi was the main reason. "Ah, Uncle Chu, you're welcome." Lin Yi quickly made a gesture of invitation. "Uncle Chu, please sit." Pingzhan was Lin Yi's elder. Lin Yi, naturally, wouldn't be rude. Meng Yao saw that her dad stood up, and it wasn't nice for her to sit either. She held Chu's hand and stood up. "Lin Yi, thank you for yesterday." "Oh, Yao Yao sis, you're welcome. We're family, right? You're Shield Bro's first wife. Of course Shield Bro has to save you, or he won't have a wife anymore." Yushu mumbled with a bun stuffed in her mouth. "Shu, what nonsense are you talking about?" Meng Yao was pissed. "A bun can't stop your mouth. Come, have another one." Meng Yao picked up a bun and forced it into Yushu's mouth. "Wah, wah." Yushu couldn't say anything. Her eyes rolled back. Pingzhan looked at his daughter and Shu and found it funny. He couldn't help but laugh. Lin Yi was used to it. He shrugged. "Don't stuff her to death." Meng Yao blushed at Lin Yi's words. She remembered what happened last time, and felt sorry for Shu. She pulled the bun out of her mouth and put it on the plate. Pingzhan smiled and invited Lin Yi to sit. Lin Yi sat on Meng Yao's left, and Yushu sat on Meng Yao's right. Chapter 756. Chapter 756. Friends. Today's meal is to thank you for saving my daughter, as well as saving the school and company's reputation. Pingzhan raised his glass. "We're having a family banquet, so we won't be drinking. I heard you drove here as well, so let's have juice instead." "All right." Lin Yi nodded, pouring some juice into the glass in front of him as well. Pingzhan had a lot of social engagements, and he had no choice but to drink during those times. Pingzhan Industries was a big company, but there were rules when it came to business. No matter how big the deal was, they had to celebrate it. It was inevitable that they would drink. so there was no need to drink during a family banquet. Ha, saving Yao Yao is something I should do no matter what. I see her as a friend. How could I not save her? Linny smiled. As for the others, it's just a matter of convenience. Besides, I have the responsibility to save the company's reputation. Meng Yao paused. Did Linny think of her as a friend? Wasn't she the employer? Meng Yao felt a little happy. It seemed that when she accepted Linny treated her as a friend as well. Should she rein in her mistemper from now on? Contact Linny as a friend? Wouldn't that be awkward? Meng Yao's face heated up at the thought of what happened in the hospital yesterday. She'd be able to face Linny if she had the identity of an employer. But how was she supposed to face him without the identity of an employer? If that's the case, then I won't say anything more. Pingzhan smiled. You're right. Privately, you have a personal relationship with Yao Yao. Publicly, you're a shareholder of the company. How could you just stand by and watch? Linny was a shareholder of her daddy's company? Meng Yao's eyes widened in disbelief. Daddy gave the shares to Linny? Was that for real? Meng Yao didn't care much about money, but she didn't believe that her daddy would just give the company's shares to an outsider. Could it be that there really was an agreement between Daddy and Linny? Otherwise, why would Daddy give away the shares? Wouldn't that divide the company's controlling stake? Once Lin Yi's shares were transferred or Linny leaned towards another shareholder, wouldn't his father's position be in danger? Meng Yao didn't think that Linny was an ungrateful person. Pingzhan saw his daughter's puzzled gaze and smiled at Linny. Yao Yao still doesn't know that you're a shareholder of the company? You didn't tell her? I've never thought of myself as a shareholder, and if I hadn't mentioned it today, I'm afraid I would have forgotten about it. Linny smiled bitterly. Lin Yi's words took Pingzhan by surprise. Linny was probably the only one who'd think like that. Any other person would have been thinking about how they'd be spending their days with all these shares. How would they be willing to take a 30,000 kwai salary and continue being the Miss Follower? Meng Yao, on the other hand, was stunned as well. Linny didn't care about the shares? Yeah, Linny didn't seem to care about the 3 million. It seemed like Linny wasn't someone who cared about money. Yao Yao, Linny is now the second largest shareholder of Pingzhan Industries, Pingzhan said to Meng Yao. Second largest shareholder? Meng Yao was even more puzzled. It was true that her father was the largest shareholder, but if her father's shares were divided into two, he wouldn't even be the third largest shareholder, let alone the second. And her father couldn't have transferred most of the shares to Lin Yi and kept a small portion for himself, right? Yes, Xie Guangba has already transferred all the shares under his name to Lin Yi, Pingzhan said. Meng Yao understood. So it was another shareholder who had transferred his shares to Lin Yi? She didn't know what was going on, but it was an indisputable fact that Lin Yi had a net worth of 10 million yuan. With a net worth like that, why was he still staying in the villa? In an instant, Meng Yao felt a little happy. Did he think of her as a friend? Was that why he continued to stay in the villa? In fact, Meng Yao didn't know that Lin Yi's mission had nothing to do with money. The reason why Lin Yi accepted this mission was because his old man had promised him that he could retire after completing it. Lin Yi was getting tired of his wandering life and wanted to settle down. All right, let's not talk about this. Lin Yi, hurry up and eat, we're all hungry. There are no rules in a family banquet, just eat your fill, Pingzhan said as he picked up a piece of meat and put it into his mouth, chewing it in big mouthfuls. Lin Yi was hungry as well. He was about to eat when he saw a butter bun on his plate with a row of teeth marks and a small amount of saliva on it. This was the bun that Yushu was chewing on. Did the miss throw it into his plate after pulling it out? Lin Yi naturally wouldn't mind Yushu. He'd already performed CPR on her, so it wasn't a big deal. Besides, Yushu was very cute, and Lin Yi had a good impression of her. So, Lin Yi didn't hesitate and put the bun in his mouth. That's... Meng Yao had been watching Lin Yi from the corner of her eyes. She wanted to warn him when she saw him put the bun in his mouth, but it was too late. Meng Yao saw that Lin Yi had already eaten it, and there was no point in saying anything now. She shook her head. Lin Yi ate Shu's saliva? Did that count as an indirect kiss? Indirect? Didn't these two kiss already? They already did CPR. What's another indirect kiss? This she really didn't pay attention. Meng Yao suddenly thought of a problem. Shu's attitude towards Linny seemed to be different. Since young, Shu always played pranks on other boys. Only boys who liked Yushu would understand how tragic life was. They were either played to death or beaten to death by Qing Yutian. But Shu didn't seem to play pranks on Linny? Did she get along well with him? Meng Yao had to admit that these two were quite compatible when they teamed up to play pranks on others. They were the best partners. Shu couldn't have fallen for Linny, could she? Meng Yao felt that it was highly possible. Shu's attitude towards Linny was obviously different from other boys. She didn't think so much before, but now that she thought about it, she could see the problem. Chapter 757. The villa screams. Meng Yao was distracted during meals. She didn't even hear Pingzhan calling her. Ah? Meng Yao looked at her dad, stunned. Daddy, you're calling me? Haha, Yao Yao, what's on your mind? I want you to give you a toast. If it wasn't for him yesterday, I wouldn't even be able to see you, Pingzhan said with a smile. Okay. Meng Yao raised her glass subconsciously, only to realize that the juice was empty. Yushu quickly filled her glass with juice, and Meng Yao raised her glass again. She looked at Lin Yi, remembering what happened yesterday, and couldn't help but feel a little shy. She lowered her eyes and said, Thank you. You've said that many times already. Lin Yi was amazed. It was rare to see the shy side of the miss. She was quite pretty. If she wasn't his employer, perhaps he would have gone after her? Yeah. Meng Yao humphed lightly, finishing the juice in her glass. I drank it all. Lin Yi finished his as well. He could tell that the miss wasn't used to social gatherings like this. Pingzhan probably didn't bring her to these banquets often, which was probably why she wasn't affected by those bad habits. The miss was a simple and honest person. She gave people the feeling that she was unapproachable, but she would care about you after getting to know you. She wouldn't say it out loud, but Lin Yi could feel it. Pingzhan didn't purposely raise Meng Yao into a strong businesswoman, and this made Lin Yi wonder. Was Pingzhan not planning for Meng Yao to take over his position in the future? Or was Pingzhan using the more popular method abroad, letting Meng Yao hold the company's shares, but not participate in the company's operations? Leaving all the operations to a professional manager? Of course, this wasn't something Lin Yi had to worry about. As for Lin Yi's shares in Pingzhan Industries, Lin Yi didn't really care. If Lin Yi didn't even care about the medical company's operations, then what about Pingzhan Industries? It had been a while since Pingzhan had a meal with Meng Yao, Yushu, and Lin Yi, especially now that his daughter and company's problems were all solved. Pingzhan's face was glowing with happiness. Pingzhan still had things to do after the meal, so he got out of the car at the company's entrance. The poison incident hadn't subsided yet, so he had to go to the company personally and cooperate with the police to collect evidence. Just like when they came, Lin Yi was driving his old van, while Li Fu was driving the Bentley with Meng Yao and Yushu. The two cars went back to the villa, one in front of the other. He didn't want to bother Li Fu at first, wanting to let the Miss and Yushu take his car back, but the Miss refused him. Didn't I tell you to drive the S5? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He was even considering if he didn't need to buy a new car now that his car was broken. When the two cars stopped in front of the villa's courtyard, a dog's bark came from inside. It was General Wei Wu. Lin Yi tensed up subconsciously. He touched the jade on his chest, and the jade sent out a signal. Lin Yi instantly went into a state of alertness. General Wei Wu wouldn't bark for no reason, especially when Meng Yao and Lin Yi were coming back. It might have reacted if it was a stranger, but it was familiar with them. General Wei Wu was very familiar with Lin Yi, Meng Yao, Yushu, and even Faubert. General Wei Wu's abnormal barking must be a sign that something was amiss. The jade on Lin Yi's chest, in particular, had a similar reaction. Meng Yao and Yushu got off the car and were shocked when they heard General Wei Wu's barking. Don't go in yet, it's dangerous. Linny said with a shake of his head. Falbert, on the other hand, jumped off the car. Falbert was also a golden class master, and he could feel that something was wrong. But before Meng Yao could ask anything, another scream came from inside the villa. It was General Wei Wu's voice, and then there was silence. General Wei Wu! Meng Yao was shocked. Her heart tightened, and she didn't care much. She opened the door and wanted to rush in. General Wei Wu could be said to have grown up with Meng Yao, accompanying her from her childhood to her teenage years. They had a deep relationship. It could be said that before Linny came to the villa, General Wei Wu was Meng Yao's only friend other than Yushu. So General Wei Wu's sudden scream made Meng Yao very worried. The only thought in her mind was to rush in and see what was wrong with General Wei Wu. General Wei Wu's scream changed Lin Yi's plan. Lin Yi wanted to sneak into the villa to check it out, but the situation had changed. Meng Yao rushed in, and Yushu naturally followed. Although her relationship with General Wei Wu wasn't as deep as Meng Yao's, it wasn't shallow either. Plus, General Wei Wu had saved 2 people's lives. If it wasn't for General Wei Wu, Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to find Meng Yao and Yushu so quickly at Mount Shuangyan. The 2 entered the villa, and Lin Yi and Falbert didn't dare to delay and followed them in. Meng Yao turned on the chandelier in the living room, and General Wei Wu was curled up on the floor. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, and he didn't know if he was dead or alive. Not far from General Wei Wu was a man in black. After Yukun left Lai Chang's company, he sneaked into Lai Chang's villa. He didn't believe Lai Chang's words, and he wanted to go to his place to search for the map. However, Yukun didn't find anything at Fatty Lai's place. He was very confident in his searching ability. After his search, he even found the key to the safe that Fatty Lai hid under the floor, but there was still no sign of the map. Yukun was absolutely sure that the map wasn't in Lai Chang's house. However, Yukun wasn't discouraged. According to his previous investigation, there were 2 people with Lai Chang at the auction. One was Lin Yi, and the other was Guan Xuemin. Lin Yi was the young man he met at the pharmacy. He didn't know why, but Yukun felt that Lin Yi was more problematic than Fatty Lai and Guan Xuemin. It was because of Lin Yi that his plan to follow Lai Chang'e was exposed. Chapter 758. Chapter 0758. Uninvited guest in the villa. Meng Yao's personal follower? Usually staying in Meng Yao's villa? A student from Songshan's first school? This result was out of Yukun's expectation. He thought that Lin Yi was someone who had a close relationship with Guan Xuemin, or Lai Chang'e, but he didn't expect that to be the case. Instead, he was hired by Pengzhen Industries' Miss Meng Yao. But the more it was like this, the more suspicious Yukun felt. Why would a Miss Personal Follower come to Yanjing City to attend House Yu's auction? It was possible for Pengzhen to attend the auction as a business tycoon, but who was Lin Yi? What was his relationship with Guan Xuemin and Lai Chang'e? Why would people like Guan Xuemin and Lai Chang'e be friends with a Miss Personal Follower? This didn't make sense at all. So, after leaving Fatty Lai's villa, Yukun locked onto Lin Yi. He felt that Lin Yi was more suspicious than Guan Xuemin. If the map wasn't in Fatty Lai's hands, then it was most likely in Lin Yi's hands. So, Yukun's second stop was Meng Yao's villa. Luckily, there was no one in the villa other than a dog. However, the dog was very obedient. After seeing Yukun, it obediently curled up into a ball and ignored Yukun. Since the dog didn't bother him, Yukun was too lazy to deal with the dog. He started his search. Luckily, when he started searching the rooms on the first floor, he found a room similar to the one Lin Yi lived in. There were a lot of men's clothes in the room, and according to his investigation, there was no one else in Meng Yao's villa other than Lin Yi. He stopped in the room and started searching. Lin Yi only placed the map in the drawer, so Yukun didn't have to spend much effort to find the map and the Waniankin box in the drawer. This box was bought by Fatty Lai from the Kong family during the auction. Yukun didn't know what it was used for, but since he saw that Lin Yi was placed together with the map, Yukun took it with him. This was truly a case of walking all over the place in search of iron shoes, only to find it by chance. Yukun didn't expect his mission to be so successful. Not only did he get the map back, but he also got another piece of the map and an unknown box. From the way Linny placed it, it was obvious that Linny didn't know what the use of the box and the map was. Otherwise, he wouldn't just casually place it in the drawer. At the very least, he would hide it in a secret place. So it could be deduced that the reason why Linny bought the map was because he also had a similar map. He wanted to put the two pieces together and study them. But what secret could he find from these two pieces? Yukun curled his lips. This Linny was really an idiot. Didn't he understand that House Yu purposely took out the map in the auction to lure the snake out of its hole? House Yu already had 3 pieces of the map in their hands, and this was one of them. If House Yu wanted to collect more, they could only use this method to lure the snake out of its hole, luring those who had the map or knew the secret of the map to attack them. Then, House Yu would find them and snatch the map from them as well. Although the method was a bit despicable, House Yu's people were very skilled. Even if someone suspected them, they wouldn't be able to find any evidence. Just like this time, Yukun didn't expect it to be so smooth. However, just as the map and the Wanyankin box were in his hands, the broken dog in the living room started barking crazily. This scared Yukun. Was there something wrong with the dog? It didn't bark before, but it only barked after he got the map and the Wanyankin box? Could it be that the dog barked because he took something from the mansion? Was it because of this reason that it didn't bark before? Yukun was annoyed and didn't think too much about it. Naturally, he ignored the sound of cars outside the mansion. In fact, there were always cars passing by outside the mansion. The rich people living here would usually return home at this time. So, Yukun didn't think that it was the people from the mansion. He thought that the dog barked because he took something. He couldn't be blamed for thinking that way. It was too much of a coincidence. Who asked Linny and the others to come back when he just picked up the map and the Wanyankin box? General Weiwu didn't make a sound when Yukun came to the mansion because of an instinctive fear. The dangerous aura that Yukun had on him scared General Weiwu. It was similar to the pressure that Linny gave General Weiwu. So, General Weiwu had an instinctive fear towards Yukun. It was afraid that Yukun would hurt it, so it curled up into a ball and ignored Yukun. However, General Weiwu could tell that Yukun didn't come with good intentions. So, when Meng Yao's car returned to the mansion, General Weiwu was afraid that Meng Yao would enter the mansion recklessly and get hurt by Yukun. In order to prevent Meng Yao from getting hurt, General Weiwu barked. It was warning Meng Yao that there was danger inside the mansion. It told Meng Yao not to enter. Meng Yao treated General Weiwu well, and General Weiwu was grateful. It was understandable, but Yukun misunderstood General Weiwu's intention. He thought that General Weiwu didn't want him to take something. So Yukun felt disgusted. You're just a dog. I've already spared your life when I came here. You're fine and you're just staying there. How dare you bark? You really don't know what's good for you. How powerful was Yukun? He was a late-phase golden class master. He kicked General Weiwu's body, and General Weiwu's internal organs were injured. He spat out blood and fell to the ground. It was obvious that he wouldn't be able to live. Meng Yao entered the mansion and saw General Weiwu dead on the floor. There was a man in black beside General Weiwu. She was shocked. She roughly understood why General Weiwu suddenly barked. Meng Yao and General Weiwu grew up together. She knew General Weiwu's personality. This dog bullied the weak and was afraid of the strong. It became soft the moment it saw Lin Yi. Although Meng Yao didn't say anything, she knew it clearly. Luckily, Lin Yi was here to protect her. She wasn't worried that General Weiwu wouldn't care about him. Chapter 759. Show Mercy. However, the reason why General Weiwu screamed the moment he got off the car was obviously General Weiwu's warning to him. It didn't want Meng Yao to enter the villa because it was dangerous. Meng Yao was touched and sad at the same time. General Weiwu had accompanied her for many lonely days and now he was lying on the floor. It seemed like he wouldn't be able to survive. At this moment, Meng Yao's heart was broken. Tears flowed down her face as she jumped onto the floor and hugged General Weiwu. General Weiwu, what's wrong? Don't die. She didn't know what to do as she felt like she had lost a family member. At this moment, she felt so helpless. She could only watch as General Weiwu was beaten to death, but there was nothing she could do. Who are you? Falbert knew the relationship between the Miss and General Weiwu. He was furious as he looked at Yukun coldly. You're Li Fu, right? I've heard of you. Yukun knew that he was discovered and he wasn't in a hurry to escape. It wasn't easy to escape from Falbert, who was also a late-phase Golden Class Master. Falbert was slightly stronger than him as well. He had reached the peak of the late-phase Golden Class. However, he was a spiritual master and Falbert was a physical master. Hence, although Falbert was stronger, their actual strength was about the same. If they were to fight head-on, it was still unknown who would emerge victorious. Yukun wouldn't take the risk as both sides would be injured. Before he came to the villa, he had done a simple investigation on the people around Linny. With House Yu's information network, it was impossible for a master like Falbert not to be noticed by House Yu. House Yu basically had a record of all the masters in the civilian house. Falbert was one of them. Who are you? What are you doing here? Why did you kill Miss Chu's dog? Falbert saw that Meng Yao was sad and wanted to kill him. House Yu, Yukun. Yukun didn't hesitate to tell Fatty Lai his name because even if he didn't, Li Fu could still find out his identity from Fatty Lai later. Besides, if he didn't reveal his identity as a member of House Yu, Yukun knew that Falbert wouldn't let him go easily. Yukun didn't want to fight because he knew that he couldn't defeat Falbert, and Falbert wouldn't be able to keep him here. If the two of them fought recklessly, both of them would be heavily injured. House Yu? Yukun? Falbert froze. He didn't expect the person in front of him to be from House Yu. Falbert, naturally, knew about House Yu's situation. His face couldn't help but turn ugly. House Yu was a giant, not to mention Falbert. Even Pingzhan couldn't afford to offend them. Li Fu, you're a physical master at the peak of the late phase of Golden Class, right? Yukun looked at Falbert and said calmly, I'm at the late phase of the Golden Class. You can't keep me here. You want to leave just like that? Falbert was in a dilemma. If Yukun's strength was as he said, then Falbert really couldn't do anything to him. A spiritual master was always stronger than a physical master. Both of their strengths could be said to be on par. On the other hand, Falbert was afraid of his identity as a member of House Yu, so he didn't dare to act rashly. Or what? Yukun saw that Falbert was afraid of him, and said arrogantly. Meng Yao was grieving. General Weiwu, who was in her arms, seemed to move. Meng Yao was surprised and opened her eyes wide, but General Weiwu didn't move anymore. General Weiwu, don't die, please don't die. Meng Yao never thought that General Weiwu would leave her one day. She used to dream that when she had her own children, she wanted General Weiwu to play with them, just like how she played with General Weiwu in the past. Yao sis, don't be sad. Maybe Shield Bro has a way. Yushu saw that General Weiwu was exhaling more than he was inhaling. She knew that General Weiwu couldn't be saved, but seeing Meng Yao's sadness, she quickly comforted her. Yushu didn't feel good either. Although her relationship with General Weiwu wasn't as deep as Meng Yao's, they often played together. She was used to General Weiwu's existence. When Meng Yao heard Lin Yi's name, hatred flashed in her eyes. She raised her head and said to Lin Yi word by word, Lin Yi, kill this murderer for me. Ha, okay. Lin Yi heard the Mrs. words and nodded calmly. He had already recognized the young man in black in front of him. It was the young man he met in front of the pharmacy in Yanjing City on the night of the auction. When he heard his name, he couldn't help but understand. So he was the Yukun who looked for Fatty Lai before. Humph, he didn't even look for him, and he actually came looking for him? Linny wasn't a person who liked to cause trouble, but if someone wanted to bully him, he wouldn't let them bully him either. House Yu. Linny took a deep breath. Alright, House Yu, since you guys appeared in my life again, don't blame me for being rude. Are you here to steal my map? Linny walked towards Yukun and asked calmly. Steal? This belongs to House Yu. It's useless even if you want it. Yukun was a little afraid of what Faubert said, but he didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. In House Yu's information, it didn't mention that Lin Yi was a master. So, he didn't even think that Lin Yi was a master. He was just Ming Yao's bodyguard. How strong could he be? At most, he was a retired Special Forces soldier or a Sanda athlete. He couldn't possibly be a master. Pingzhan's Faubert was only at the peak of the late phase of golden class. Miss Chu's bodyguard couldn't possibly be stronger than Faubert, could he? What's the use of the map? Lin Yi asked. Do you think I can tell you? Besides, I don't know either. Yukun looked at Lin Yi with disdain. Oh, then you've lost the value of your existence. You can die now. Lin Yi suddenly attacked, releasing his aura in an instant. Lily, have mercy! Faubert was shocked. He didn't think that Lin Yi would kill Yukun with just a few words. He was shocked and quickly stopped him. How could he let someone from House Yu die in the villa? Wouldn't there be no end to the trouble after that? How could Pingzhan handle it? How could he fight against the giant House Yu? Chapter 760. Chapter 760. Sorrowful young mistress, but immediately, Yukun felt that something was wrong. How was this the peak of the late phase of the golden class? Pffft. Yukun spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. He smashed into the television in the living room and smashed it into pieces. Lin Yi instantly retracted half of his strength. He didn't understand why Faubert wanted him to go easy on him, but since it was Faubert's order, Lin Yi would naturally do as he was told. With Faubert's calmness, he naturally had his reasons for doing so. Mystic class. Yukun looked at Lin Yi in shock. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood, he spat out the two words with difficulty. Yukun knew that Lin Yi went easy on him. If it wasn't for Faubert's last sentence, he would have been dead. How ruthless! Yukun was shocked. Where did Lin Yi come from? How did he have the strength of an early-phase mystic class? How was this possible? How old was he? He didn't even look as old as Yukun, and he wasn't from any noble house. How could he have such powerful skills? But no matter what, Yukun knew that this wasn't a place for him to stay for long. Lin Yi went easy on him this time, but it was hard to say if he would kill him next. Yukun hesitated for a while and threw away the Wanyankin box and the 2 pieces of the map. He endured his injuries and ran out of the villa, disappearing into the night. He knew that if he didn't leave the box and the map, Lin Yi might chase after him again. If that happened, he might not even be able to live. Lin Yi looked at Yukun's back and didn't chase after him. Yukun was already a cripple, so why bother? Ever since the incident with Li Delay, Lin Yi had a strong interest in compressing his own energy. His energy could be used by others, but after compressing it, the sudden explosion wasn't something others could withstand. Lin Yi's palm that landed on Yukun's body contained a compressed energy. The moment the energy entered Yukun's body, it exploded like a bomb, destroying Yukun's meridians. Therefore, even if Yukun recovered, he would still be a cripple. He would not be able to practice spiritual techniques anymore. Why not kill him? Lin Yi looked at Faubert in confusion. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Faubert was actually a physical master at the peak of the late phase of the golden class. He's from House Yu. Faubert sighed. Killing someone from House Yu would be troublesome. Just because he's from House Yu? Lin Yi frowned. You don't know about House Yu? Faubert looked at Lin Yi's nonchalant expression and was slightly taken aback. I know, Lin Yi said indifferently. But this has nothing to do with killing him. You aren't afraid of House Yu? Faubert was surprised. If Lin Yi knew about House Yu, why did he dare to let Yukun stay? Scared? Lin Yi seemed to be asking himself. Forget it, it's fine if they ran. The reason why Lin Yi dared to kill Yukun in the villa was because everyone present was trustworthy. Meng Yao and Yushu wouldn't betray him, and Faubert wouldn't either. Therefore, Lin Yi dared to kill Yukun. Every circle had its own rules. Lin Yi didn't believe that House Yu would call the police if someone died. So, Yukun's death wouldn't affect his life. It was just like Zhang Long and Li Yao, who were beside Sihua. If they died, then so be it. This was different from Master Bing, Zhang Wen, and Zhong Pingliang. Master Bing could die, but Lin Yi couldn't kill him in front of everyone. If Zhang Wen and Zhong Pingliang died, the police would definitely take action. This was why Lin Yi treated different people differently. Falbert heard Lin Yi's words and suddenly remembered Lin Yi's strength. Early phase mystic class. Was Lin Yi really at the early phase mystic class? Then, what kind of background did Lin Yi have? As for Lin Yi, why would he appear beside the miss? Where did Mr. Chu invite him to come from? Such a master actually accompanied the miss to school and played with her every day like a follower? Falbert was more and more suspicious of Lin Yi. What kind of person was he? However, since Pingzhan and Lin Yi didn't say anything, Falbert wouldn't ask. He sighed slightly and walked towards Meng Yao. Meng Yao was angry at the moment, so she asked Lin Yi to kill Yukun. But when Lin Yi really did it, she regretted it. She couldn't let Lin Yi become a murderer because of her. So, although Meng Yao was disappointed that Yukun escaped, she was glad at the same time. If Lin Yi really killed Yukun, how would she clean up the mess? Miss Chu, he's from House Yu, we can't mess with him for now. Falbert asked Lin Yi to let Yukun go. He had to talk to the miss first. Falbert knew Meng Yao's sadness. He knew that she wanted to kill Yukun to avenge General Weiwu. And Meng Yao's emotions had calmed down. She hugged General Weiwu and wiped her tears. Miss, General Weiwu. He should be happy to know that you are safe now. Falbert didn't know how to comfort Meng Yao. But a dead dog can't come back to life, and Meng Yao replied blankly. How could she not know that a dead dog couldn't come back to life? Seeing that General Weiwu wasn't moving anymore, it was obvious that he was dead. But Meng Yao couldn't accept it at that moment. Maybe he's not dead? Let me treat him for you. Lin Yi smiled and walked over. He looked at General Weiwu in the miss arms and shrugged. Not dead? Meng Yao's eyes lit up when she heard Lin Yi's words. She looked at Lin Yi in disbelief and said emotionally, Lin Yi, you said that he's not dead? You're not lying to me? Have I ever lied to you? Lin Yi took General Weiwu from the miss arms and accidentally touched Meng Yao's chest. It was very soft. Although it wasn't big, it was very bouncy. It didn't feel too bad? Lin Yi recalled the feeling in that moment. Meng Yao's face reddened. She didn't wear much in the summer, and Meng Yao wouldn't wear something with a lot of sponge in it. She only wore a thin layer of brassieres, so how could she not feel his touch? Humph! Meng Yao glared at Lin Yi. Then hurry up and treat him, or I'll deal with you. You won't deal with me if I treat him? Lin Yi teased. Oh, if you cure it, Yao Yao will let you touch it again? Yushu, who'd seen Lin Yi touching Meng Yao's chest, said. Shoo! Meng Yao was angry. What are you talking about? Why don't you let him touch you? Oh, I'll let him if you let me, Yushu said after some thought. Chapter 761. His strength increased again. I can save it, but it's a little troublesome. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He had used up a lot of energy these few days. Lin Yi, I'm begging you, can you save it? Meng Yao saw Lin Yi's expression and knew that things weren't that simple. In fact, she knew that even if Lin Yi's medical skills were superb, General Weiwu was already on the verge of death. How could he save it? Lin Yi had used up a lot of energy to save her yesterday. She couldn't bear to ask Lin Yi to save General Weiwu again. I said it's a little troublesome, but I didn't say I won't save it. Lin Yi looked at the miss who was staring at him. She was quite cute, and his heart skipped a beat. The miss was actually a girl with emotions, but she always wrapped herself up too tightly, and didn't reveal her feelings easily. And Meng Yao nodded. Why are you guys so mushy? Yao sis, you're going to be Shield Bro's big wife sooner or later. Of course, Shield Bro has to save the dog for you, Yushu said. Meng Yao pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She looked at Lin Yi gratefully. Lin Yi carried General Weiwu back to his room and looked at Falbert. Falbert, please guard my room door. Don't let anyone disturb me. Although Yukun's martial arts were crippled by Lin Yi, Lin Yi wasn't sure if it would work. What if someone could repair Yukun's meridians like him? So, Lin Yi was afraid that Yukun would come back with his men, so he asked Falbert to guard the door for him. This way, Falbert, as a master at the peak of the late phase of the golden class, should be able to handle it. As long as he heard the commotion, he would be able to come up with a countermeasure. That's what I should do. What's the trouble? Falbert quickly asked. You helped Miss Chu save the dog. I still have to thank you. Oh, that's what I should do. Lin Yi smiled and returned to his room. General Wei Wu wasn't completely dead, it just fainted. Although many of its internal organs were damaged, Lin Yi was confident that he could save it. It was just a matter of how he would do it. Lin Yi wondered if he could use his own energy to save the dog. Lin Yi's energy was effective on humans, but he didn't know if it was effective on dogs. If the energy was effective, it would be easier to save General Wei Wu, but if it wasn't, Lin Yi could only use acupuncture and herbs to save General Wei Wu. Jiao Lao, is my energy useful to dogs? Lin Yi was afraid that if he injected energy into General Wei Wu and killed him, it wouldn't be fun, so he asked first. I don't know. I've never tried it before. Jiao Yazi's voice rang beside Lin Yi's ear. But your energy is omnipotent. Theoretically, it should be possible, right? Why don't you try? Try? I can't die, right? Lin Yi wasn't at ease with this answer. It's impossible for it to die. At most, it's useless or overused, Jiao Yazi said. Okay, I'll try. Lin Yi had no choice but to try everything he could. Even if the patient died, the miss wouldn't blame him. He'd already tried his best. Lin Yi placed his hand on General Wei Wu's body and activated the art of dragon mastery in his heart. Instantly, he felt a strong suction coming from General Wei Wu's body, sucking the energy in Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. Seems like it's working? Although the suction force was strong, Lin Yi didn't dare to stop or control it. He didn't know how much energy was needed to save the dog, so he let General Wei Wu absorb it. If it absorbed too much, he could just take a nap and replenish it. Time passed by, minutes and seconds. He didn't know how long it had been, but General Wei Wu's absorption speed didn't stop. It seemed like its injuries weren't light, and Lin Yi didn't dare to stop. Although he felt a little dizzy, it was a warning sign that the energy in his body was depleted. But Lin Yi thought that he should endure it in order to not make the miss sad. Thinking about it, the first miss was actually quite nice to him. Other than the initial hostility, after the first miss accepted him, she was quite concerned about him. Plus, he touched Mrs. Chest just now. He didn't know when he would be able to touch it again. Lin Yi reminisced. As he thought about it, he fell asleep. Lin Yi used up too much energy, so he went to sleep to replenish his energy. In the space of the jade, Lin Yi saw Jiao Yazi. Jiao Lao, did I come in again? I don't know either. Jiao Yazi shook his head. I'm not sure if your energy can save the dog, but the dog did absorb a lot of it. But the most important thing now is to replenish your energy. If you faint now, what if the enemy comes? Lin Yi was shocked. He didn't dare to ask more. He quickly activated the art of dragon mastery and started absorbing the energy in the space of the jade. The energy in the space of the jade seemed to be endless. Lin Yi absorbed it so many times, but it didn't thin out at all. It was still as dense as before. Lin Yi felt that every pore on his body was open and absorbing the energy. He didn't know how much time had passed, but he suddenly felt the energy in his body fill up like never before. Mystic early phase peak? Lin Yi was shocked. He came back to reality from the space of the jade. Lin Yi realized that he was now at the peak of the early phase of the mystic class. In other words, he was only an arm's length away from the middle phase of the mystic class. What was going on? After losing energy and replenishing it, Lin Yi felt an obvious increase in his strength. Was it the same when he saved Xiao Xiao? Could it be that there was no construction without destruction? He lost a portion of his energy and replenished it, so he could break through to his previous strength. Lin Yi didn't know if his guess was correct, but the truth was this amazing. Lin Yi didn't think that it would be a blessing in disguise. His strength increased so much? Woof woof! General Weiwu barked beside Lin Yi. Lin Yi paused and suddenly remembered about General Weiwu. He entered the energy replenishment state in a daze and didn't care about what happened to General Weiwu. When he woke up, he was shocked by his strength and forgot about General Weiwu's existence. Chapter 762. Golden Division Dog. It seemed like General Weiwu was recovering well? Wait a minute. Lin Yi suddenly realized that something was wrong with General Weiwu. It seemed to be much stronger than before. This was, also, it seemed to be in good spirits? Other than that, there was another important question. What kind of aura was being emitted from General Weiwu's body? What the heck? Lin Yi's eyes widened in shock. Was this General Weiwu still General Weiwu? Why did it seem different? Lin Yi looked at General Weiwu in disbelief. What kind of dog was this? Was this still a normal dog? This was obviously a Golden Division dog. After the shock, Lin Yi reached out to pat General Weiwu's head. General Weiwu obediently rubbed its head against Lin Yi's hand. It seemed to understand humans better than before? Lin Yi tested General Weiwu's strength. It was indeed at the early phase of the Golden Division. There were differences in strength between humans and dogs too? Also, wasn't it too ridiculous that a dog could reach the Golden Division? However, the truth was right in front of him. Lin Yi couldn't believe it. The pure chi in General Weiwu's body was similar to that of a master at the early phase of the Golden Division. Its internal injuries were completely healed and it was even stronger now. Lil Wei, come here! Lin Yi waved at General Weiwu. General Weiwu came over to fawn over him and wagged its tail in front of Lin Yi. It seemed like it knew that its current strength was all thanks to Lin Yi. Next time when I'm not home, you can protect Miss and Shu. But you can't fight, understand? Lin Yi was afraid that General Weiwu didn't know how to use its strength and hurt people. With this kind of strength, wouldn't a normal person die instantly? Woof woof! General Weiwu responded and wagged its tail as if it understood Lin Yi's words. Okay, since you're so obedient, I won't take back your power. Lin Yi originally wanted to destroy General Weiwu's power. A dog having the power of a Golden Division was unbelievable no matter how he looked at it. But since General Weiwu could understand him, it might not be a bad thing to keep it. At least it could be a helper? Also, Lin Yi had an immature thought. If his energy could transform a normal dog into a Golden Class Master, then could he turn a normal person into a Golden Class Master? This was something that needed to be researched. If his energy really had such an effect, then wouldn't he be able to mass-produce Golden Class Masters? Lin Yi raised his head and looked in the direction of the curtains, only to find that the sky was already turning bright. Had the night already passed? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that he asked Faubert to guard the door. Did Faubert go back to rest? With that thought, Lin Yi quickly got up and opened the door. The villa's living room was brightly lit. Faubert was guarding not far from Lin Yi's room. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, were leaning on each other, sitting on the sofa. They weren't asleep, but their faces were filled with anxiety. Pingzhan was here as well. He sat on the sofa opposite Meng Yao and Yushu. Evidently, he already knew what happened earlier. At this moment, Pingzhan was frowning as he stared at the Wanyankin box and the two map fragments on the coffee table. The door to Lin Yi's room opened and attracted everyone's attention. They all looked towards Lin Yi's door. Lin Yi pushed the door open and walked out. Behind him was a healthy and energetic General Weiwu. General Weiwu! Meng Yao saw that General Weiwu was fine and was overjoyed. She got up and ran over. General Weiwu looked at Lin Yi and only jumped into Meng Yao's arms after seeing that he didn't have any expression on his face. Obviously, General Weiwu had already treated Lin Yi as its first owner. Faubert saw General Weiwu running out of the room in good health. He was in disbelief. Did Lin Yi really save General Weiwu? Uncle Fu had taken a look at Weiwu as well. The man was gasping for air and was on the verge of death. How could Lin Yi save him in a situation like this? It was unbelievable. However, something even more unbelievable was yet to come. Falbert suddenly realized that there was another high-class master hiding in the room other than Lin Yi. He had the strength of an early phase golden class. Uncle Fu was startled. Could it be that another enemy had invaded? But there was still a gap between him and the early phase golden class. Why didn't he notice when this person came in? After a moment, Falbert focused his eyes and frowned. His gaze finally landed on General Weiwu. Not long after, a look of disbelief appeared on his face. If it wasn't for Falbert's calmness, he would have screamed out loud. Because this General Weiwu was not a normal General Weiwu. It was obviously a golden-class General Weiwu. The threatening aura that Falbert felt came from this dog. For a moment, Falbert didn't know what to say. The situation in front of him was beyond his expectations. He had lived for half of his life and he had never seen such a magical thing. A dog turned into a golden-class dog? Could there be anything more magical than this? General Weiwu happily squirmed in Mingyao's arms. Lin Yi was a little envious. How good would it be if he was that dog? He could even kiss Mingyao's chest? General Weiwu seemed to feel Lin Yi's unfriendly gaze. He jumped out of Mingyao's arms and looked at Lin Yi with a wronged expression. Lin Yi looked at General Weiwu on the ground and shook his head. He was jealous of a dog. It was funny. Lily! Pingzhan stood up and looked at Lin Yi with a serious expression. Is it House Yu? It should be. But don't worry, Uncle Chu. If someone from House Yu comes for you, let him come for me, Lin Yi said nonchalantly. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse for you to be merciful. Pingzhan sighed. But at least you left a way out. I hope that House Yu won't go too far. Lin Yi nodded. Would House Yu send someone stronger? It was possible. Lin Yi looked at the Wanyankan box and the 2 pieces of the map on the coffee table. It seemed like this Yukun from House Yu came for the 2 pieces of the map. As for the Wanyankan box, he just took it away. Otherwise, Yukun wouldn't have mentioned nothing about the Wanyankan box at Fatty Lai's place. Chapter 763. Chapter 0763. Miss Harthouse, you must have a secret that he didn't know about, and Yukun was just a junior of House Yu. He might not know the core secret of the map. So when Lin Yi asked Yukun and got a negative answer, he decided to kill him. Mr. Chu, don't worry. I'm here. No one will hurt Yao Yao and Shu, Lin Yi said. And I'm not worried with you here. Pingzhan patted Lin Yi's shoulder. Since there's nothing else, I'll go back first. You guys rest early? Uncle Chu, you can go back. There's nothing else here. Lin Yi got up and sent Falbert and Pingzhan off. In the yard, Falbert opened the door for Pingzhan and let him in. He looked at Lin Yi and didn't say anything. Ha, Falbert, I didn't know you were a golden class late phase peak master? Lin Yi saw that Falbert wanted to say something, so he started the conversation. Lin Yi had a good impression of Falbert. It wasn't easy to get a golden class late phase peak master to deliver food to the villa every day. How can I compare to you with my strength? Falbert shook his head and smiled bitterly. That dog, I don't know what happened. Energy. Too much pure qi, and it became like this. Lin Yi smiled bitterly when he mentioned General Weiwu. It was normal that Falbert could see through General Weiwu's strength. After all, General Weiwu was different from humans. It didn't know how to hide its strength. Anyone who practiced martial arts would be able to see through General Weiwu's strength. I didn't expect to see a golden class dog. Golden class masters are rare. If people knew that there was a golden class dog in the house, would they be scared to death? Falbert shook his head and said to Lin Yi, I'll leave the Mrs. Safety to you. I'll be leaving now. And, Falbert, goodbye. Lin Yi nodded and watched Falbert's car leave. General Weiwu had returned to normal. Meng Yao and Yushu were very happy. They were playing with General Weiwu in the living room, and when Lin Yi came in, Meng Yao carried General Weiwu in front of Lin Yi. Come, General Weiwu. Let's thank Lin Yi together. Ah? Lin Yi smiled. No need to thank me, As long as you're not sad. Thanks, Linny, Missy said seriously. You don't know how important General Wei Wu is to me. He's very important to me. It has been with me for so many years since I was young. I know, that's why I saved it. Linny nodded. Meng Yao paused, but it made sense. Linny should be able to tell how sad she was. Linny, you haven't rested yet, have you? It's already past 3 o'clock. Hurry up and take a rest. Oh, okay. You guys sleep early too? Linny was too embarrassed to say that he'd slept with the Miss and Yushu, after all, had been anxiously waiting for him at the door. Linny didn't sleep after returning to his room. He laid on the bed, thinking about House Yu. He thought that he would never have anything to do with House Yu in his life, but now House Yu had come to him. Xiao Ning. Is she part of your family? Linny let out a soft sigh as the beautiful face appeared in his mind once again. I wonder how she is doing now? Linny sighed. How should he face her? A few hours passed in a blink of an eye. Linny laid on the bed, lost in his thoughts until he heard a noise from the living room. Miss and Shu woke up? Linny looked at the time. It should be about time. He got up from the bed, pushed the door open and walked out, only to see a scene that made him very surprised. What were Miss and Shu doing in the kitchen? Shu, you big idiot! The internet said to pour the oil first? Why did you put the egg first? Meng Yao's angry voice came from the kitchen. Oh, I don't know. I thought you put the egg first and stewed it with soybean oil, Yushu said weakly. Forget it. It's healthier without oil. Meng Yao was speechless. But before she could calm down, another problem happened. The rice cooker made a crackling sound. Shu, what did you do this time? Meng Yao subconsciously ran to the rice cooker and listened carefully. She was shocked and quickly opened the lid. Her face was full of black lines. Why didn't you fill the water? How are you going to cook porridge? Oh, I thought you added the water later, Yushu said. You idiot, I shouldn't have let you be my assistant. With your cooking skills, don't even think about getting married. Meng Yao was so angry that she wanted to kick her out of the kitchen. Oh, Shield Bro knows how to cook. I don't need to do it, Yushu said indifferently. You can bring Linny with you when you get married? Meng Yao's eyes widened. I can marry him. Yushu looked at Meng Yao as if it was a matter of course. Shu, tell me the truth. Do you like Linny? Meng Yao stared at Yushu's eyes. Don't you like him too? Yushu asked. I don't, Meng Yao said seriously. Shu, Linny has a girlfriend. Don't go down the wrong path. Oh, I don't. I want to be a small wife. It's okay to have a girlfriend. Yushu shook her head. You are lying to yourself, Meng Yao said. Shu, what are you thinking? I'm not thinking much. I just want to be with Yao Yao sis forever, Yushu said innocently. Fine, I don't care. Do what you want. Meng Yao had a headache. She and Shu had grown up, and although they were still very close, everyone had their own secrets in the depths of their hearts. This had nothing to do with whether they were close friends or not. Everyone had their own secrets. Meng Yao looked at the popcorn in the rice cooker. She didn't know what to do. Linny heard the conversation between the Miss and Shu, but he didn't interrupt. Linny had a unique feeling towards Yushu. Linny always felt that Yushu had a certain kind of temperament. It was familiar. But thinking about it, he really didn't know this kind of girl. After the two finished their private conversation, Linny walked to the kitchen. Okay, leave it to me. You two wait in the living room. Chapter 764. Tang Yun's disappointment. Meng Yao looked at Linny apologetically. You must be tired these past 2 days, right? I wanted to wake up early to make breakfast for you, but I didn't expect Shu to ruin it. Haha, I understand. Linny smiled. Meng Yao pulled Yushu out of the kitchen, and Linny shook his head. These two really weren't made for cooking, but it was rare enough that the Miss was being so considerate. This was probably the first time the Miss had cooked in her life, wasn't it? Yushu was probably the same. Before Linny came, The rice cooker's manual was still inside. It was obvious that it hadn't been used at all. Lin Yi was very familiar with making breakfast. He first set the time for the porridge, fried a few eggs, and made a plate of pickled vegetables with sesame oil. It didn't take long before it was served. Yushu looked at Lin Yi, surprised. Yao sis, why are we so stupid? You are stupid, not me. Meng Yao was also surprised by Lin Yi's speed. Meng Yao scooped the porridge for Lin Yi, and Yushu heated up the milk for the three. Lin Yi, you didn't sleep well last night. Why don't you not drive? Let Faubert drive us to school. Meng Yao was afraid that Lin Yi would drive if he was tired. I'm not sleepy. I won't go to school in a bit. I have something else to do. Lin Yi smiled. Something else? What are you going to do? Meng Yao asked subconsciously. Today, Qibing Real Estate said that they want to discuss compensation with Tang Yun's family. Lin Yi said. Oh? Meng Yao wasn't too happy when she heard that it was about Tang Yun's family again. Oh, are you going to negotiate? I want to go too. Yushu quickly swallowed the egg in her mouth and drank a mouthful of milk. What are you going to do? Lin Yi found it funny. My nickname is Negotiation Shu. Shield bro, let me go, I promise you'll succeed, Yushu said. Shu, why do you have so many nicknames? What's Spy Shu? Meng Yao gave Yushu a kick, not wanting her to get involved in this mess. Oh, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I'm actually an all-rounder, Yushu said. Shield bro, take me with you. I guarantee success. Lin Yi smiled bitterly at the eager Yushu. You really want to go? Yeah. Yushu nodded. Let's go then. Lin Yi didn't mind. It was just one more person. Yao, Shield bro agreed. Let's go together. Yushu was very excited. You're a 12th grader now, you can't skip class all the time, Meng Yao said. Are you okay? Just a little while? If I don't go to school, there's no point in you going alone, Yao, right? We're always together. Okay then. Meng Yao hesitated and nodded. She then turned to Lin Yi. It's okay if we follow you, right? It's okay. Lin Yi didn't think much of it. After all, they weren't going to do anything sneaky. They were going to the headquarters of Qibing Real Estate to ask for money. After dinner, Lin Yi called Tang Yun and told her that he would pick her up at the hospital. He also mentioned that Meng Yao and Yushu were going too. Tang Yun wasn't a stingy person. Although she felt that it was weird for Meng Yao and Yushu to follow her today, she let them be if they wanted to. The relationship between the three was weird. They saw each other all the time. They weren't enemies, but they weren't friends either. Ever since the battle at Fatty Lai's house and the cafeteria incident, the relationship between the three girls became weird. On the surface, it was still okay, but in her heart, she was very cautious. Tang Yun wasn't an idiot. Miss and Yushu's threats made her feel uneasy. Because Mrs. Tang and Tang Yun were going, Lin Yi couldn't drive Meng Yao's Audi S5. It would be too crowded, so Lin Yi could only drive the minivan. This time, Meng Yao and Yushu weren't picky. They obediently sat in the minivan. Although it was bumpy, Miss could still endure it. Lin Yi went to the hospital to pick up Mrs. Tang and Tang Yun. Mrs. Tang was surprised to see the two beauties in Lin Yi's car. She looked at her daughter nervously and asked in a low voice. Who are they? Do you know them? Yes, they're Lin Yi's classmates. Tang Yun didn't tell her mother about the relationship between Miss and Lin Yi. It would be very complicated, and it wasn't something that could be understood in a few words. They're so pretty. Do you want some immersion? What does their family do? Mrs. Tang asked worriedly. We'll talk about it when we get home. Tang Yun frowned. It wasn't good to talk about these things in the car. It would be bad if Lin Yi heard it. Mrs. Tang looked at Meng Yao and Yushu. She felt that these two girls were as pretty as her daughter. Also, from the way they dressed, they didn't look like ordinary girls. They looked more like daughters from a rich family. Mrs. Tang saw that Tang Yun didn't answer her question, so she went to ask Meng Yao herself. Hello, you are? Auntie, we're here to help Lin Yi negotiate with Qibing Real Estate. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. She hesitated and remembered Yushu's reason. Help us negotiate. Mrs. Tang heard Meng Yao's answer and was surprised. Yes, my dad runs a company too. He knows a little about this. Meng Yao could only say that. She couldn't say that Yushu was messing around and wanted to follow them, right? It'd be awkward if Yushu were to start talking about first wife, second wife, or something like that. Is that so? Thank you so much. Mrs. Tang heard that they came because of this and was happy. As long as it didn't threaten her daughter's position, it would be easy. It's nothing. Meng Yao shook her head. Tang Yun let out a sigh of relief. She didn't want Meng Yao to say something inappropriate and make her mother worry. As for how she would explain it to her mother, it was something she would worry about when they got home. At least she didn't have to embarrass herself now. Tang Yun looked at Meng Yao gratefully and lowered her head again. She didn't know what to say. Suddenly, Tang Yun felt disappointed. From the beginning, when Lin Yi came into her life, Lin Yi seemed to have been helping her family. He never stopped. Chapter 765. Yushu, regretful it seemed like it was her family's business from the beginning? Lin Yi had been giving his all in silence? And what did she give to Lin Yi? Other than her looks, what other advantages did she have? In an instant, Tang Yun started to feel inferior in front of Meng Yao and Yushu. Thinking about it, she couldn't help Lin Yi in any way, but she had to trouble Lin Yi to do so many things for her family, including today's negotiation. Why did he treat her so well? Tang Yun was stuck in it, and couldn't pull herself out. Tang Yun didn't know how to face Meng Yao and Yushu. Perhaps they were a good match for Lin Yi? But she really couldn't give up her feelings. At this moment, Tang Yun was in a dilemma. She didn't seem to have any advantage in front of Meng Yao. The only consolation she had was the fact that she was Lin Yi's girlfriend, wasn't it? Tang Yun didn't want to continue like this. She didn't want to be a useless person. She wanted to help Lin Yi with some things, but she didn't know how to do it. She didn't even know where to start if she wanted to help Lin Yi with his company. She looked at her mother and was a little annoyed. How could her mother understand her troubles? She kept asking Lin Yi for this and that. Why did he give it to her? If her body could replace Lin Yi's kindness, Tang Yun would do it without hesitation. But Tang Yun knew that this wasn't an exchange. Feelings couldn't be exchanged. It wasn't as simple as repaying with her body. Who? Tang Yun took in a deep breath. But how could she repay Lin Yi? For the first time, Tang Yun became sentimental. Only when there was a comparison would there be a difference. For the first time, Tang Yun felt that she was lacking. Lin Yi drove the car to the Qibing skyscraper where Qibing Real Estate was located and parked the car in the underground parking lot. I didn't expect Qibing skyscraper to be built so quickly. Aren't you afraid that it'll collapse again? Lin Yi didn't know that Tang Yun was thinking a lot on the way here. He joked to himself after getting off the car. Oh, I really want to see the building collapse. It's a pity that I didn't see it before. Yushu looked at the parking lot of Qibing skyscraper and said disappointedly. Didn't the news report it? Meng Yao said. But there's no process of it collapsing. It must be fun when it collapses, Yushu said as she fantasized. Bang, the building collapses. It's so fun. All right, stop daydreaming. Let's go up, Meng Yao said as she pulled Yushu's hand. On the second floor, there was a surveillance room next to the temporary demolition team office. Master Bing, Sihua, and Su Jianan were watching the surveillance footage from the parking lot. Qibing skyscraper had just been completed and hadn't been officially opened yet. Thus, there were only the three of them in the building. Mother Faster's Kerr, the building collapsed with a bang? Master Bing gritted his teeth after hearing Yushu's words. His eyes were filled with hatred. I'll make you guys explode with a bang later. This girl is called Yushu, from House Qin. Sihua introduced Yushu's background. She's usually a little dumb. I think there's something wrong with her IQ. Humph, I don't care whose family she's from. Since she's with Lin Yi, she has to die. Master Bing laughed coldly and looked at Tang Yun and Meng Yao. These two pretty girls, it's such a waste for them to die. Yeah, it's a waste for them to die. Sihua nodded. But my legs aren't good, and it's not convenient for me to play with women. It doesn't matter if I die. Qibing felt a surge of hatred when he thought of his legs. All right, let's go now and wait for them to come up. Sihua asked. Yeah, let's go together. Master Bing nodded. Sihua pushed Zhao Qibing and Su Jianeng to the demolition project office and waited for Lin Yi and the others. Not long after, Lin Yi, Tang Yun, Mrs. Tang, Ming Yao, and Yushu came up to the demolition project office. Lin Yi didn't expect Qibing and Sihua to be here. He thought that only Su Jianeng would come. Hello, my surname is Su. I'm the manager of Qibing Real Estate's demolition project. Su Jianeng introduced himself. Oh, you don't need to introduce yourself. I know you. Aren't you that Jianeng? What manager of Floating Cloud Bar? And that Sihua, I know him too. Aren't you guys from Floating Cloud Bar? Yushu didn't wait for Jianeng to finish and interrupted him. Huh! Why is there a disabled person here? He came in a wheelchair? Are you guys a scammer? How did a bar owner come to open a real estate company? Ahem, other than running a bar, we also run a real estate company. Sihua sweated, but he didn't dare to say anything. Zhao Qibing was infuriated as well, but he didn't dare to fight Lin Yi head-on. After all, Lin Yi was a mystic class master, someone who could fight against Uncle Shu head-on. Who knew how much of his strength had recovered? Even if he recovered half of it, it was more than enough to beat them up. Although Zhao Qibing was furious, he could only maintain a smile on his face. We seem to have a misunderstanding before? But it's all a misunderstanding. Today, we sincerely invite you guys to discuss compensation. Zhao Qibing thought to himself. I'll lower my stance and make you guys happy first. Later, I'll install a time bomb in your car. Let's see if you guys can still be happy then. Of course, Zhao Qibing wasn't afraid of being investigated. Other than the three of them, there was only Zhang Yuzhou who was waiting near the parking lot. When the time bomb exploded, there would be no evidence. If he didn't admit it, who could do anything to him? Qibing's building wasn't officially open yet. There were no witnesses. Oh, it's a misunderstanding. Lin Yi smiled. Although he had a smile on his face, he was more and more suspicious of Zhao Qibing's motives. Lin Yi didn't believe that Zhao Qibing would be so generous. He broke his leg, and not only did he say it was a misunderstanding, he even wanted to offer compensation. That wasn't being generous, he was an idiot. There must be something fishy going on. Lin Yi was very suspicious of Zhao Qibing's motives. This was also the reason why he came with Tang Yun's family. Of course, it's a misunderstanding. Zhao Qibing smiled and nodded. Jianeng, tell us your compensation plan. Let Ms. Wang see if it's reasonable. Chapter 766. Shu the Negotiator. 2 million. Actually, to Mrs. Tang, 2 million was already a lot. How could she not agree? But since Lin Yi came along, she needed Lin Yi's approval. 2 million? So little? Yushu spoke up. She thought that she couldn't come here for nothing. She had to use Shu the Negotiator's advantage. But she really didn't know how to negotiate. She said that she was Shu the Negotiator in the morning, but it was just bullshit. She just wanted to join in the fun. Of course, 2 million is just the number we suggested. If you don't think it's suitable, we can discuss it. Jianeng didn't expect Yushu to speak up before Mrs. Tang could. However, he had a principle in mind. No matter what the other party's request was, he had to calm them down first. Once Zhang Yuzhou was done with the time bomb, everything would be fine. You should at least give me 200 million, right? Yushu thought for a while and suddenly remembered the saying on TV. Ask for as much as you want, but you'll have to pay. So she directly gave him 200 million. Jianeng was so shocked that he rolled his eyes. 200 million? Why don't you go rob someone? 200 million? Wasn't that a little too much? Was that a bungalow or a skyscraper? Zhao Qibing frowned. Although he had decided to agree to some of Lin Yi's unreasonable requests, he couldn't ask for too much, could he? 200 million? What kind of joke was this? Even if he agreed, Lin Yi wouldn't believe him. Instead, he would suspect his motives. So, Zhao Qibing could only say, "Little girl, isn't this price a little insincere? No, I heard that your skyscraper collapsed with a bang. You didn't even care and built another one." Yushu blinked. "This skyscraper is at least 100 million, right? So 200 million isn't too much at all." Zhao Qibing's eyes widened. What was this? It was two completely different things. The skyscraper collapsed with a bang? Did he want it to collapse? If it wasn't for Lin Yi, this bastard, how would his skyscraper collapse? Zhao Qibing gritted his teeth in anger. He wanted to bite Lin Yi to death. "The building is only worth 100 million, and your bungalows are made of gold and silver? Is it worth 200 million? Qibing frowned. Mrs. Tang, who was at the side, also widened her eyes. How are these two people here to negotiate? Was he clearly here to cause trouble? What if he made the other party angry and refused to give him a single cent? However, Lin Yi didn't say anything at the moment, so Mrs. Tang couldn't say anything. She could only pray in her heart. It would be good if they could get 2 million yuan. Please don't lose even 2 million yuan. Wouldn't it be 200 million if your skyscraper collapses again? Yushu counted with her fingers. When will your skyscraper collapse again? Don't forget to invite me to take a look around. What algorithm is this? Zhao Qibing was infuriated. He wanted to ask Yushu if she was here to cause trouble, but when he remembered that the people in front of him were about to be killed by the bomb, he felt much better. Oh, then how much can you pay? Yushu didn't want to talk to him anymore. It wasn't fun at all. 3 million, this is our limit. Zhao Qibing raised 3 fingers. Naturally, he couldn't give Lin Yi so many benefits in one go. He wanted to delay as much time as possible and wait for Zhang Yuzhou to install the bomb. You're so stingy. No wonder the skyscraper collapsed. If you continue to be so stingy, the skyscraper will collapse again. Yushu's mind was filled with the skyscraper collapsing, so she talked about the skyscraper collapsing. Even if it collapses, you don't have to worry about it. Zhao Qibing was furious. You have such a bad conscience. Why do you always want my skyscraper to collapse? What's in it for you if the skyscraper collapses? Of course, if Zhao Qibing knew that Yushu wanted the skyscraper to collapse just for fun, would he die of anger on the spot? Mrs. Tang's heart skipped a beat. 3 million? Another million in such a short time? It couldn't be, right? Could this kind of negotiation really produce results? Mrs. Tang was a little surprised. Was this really the negotiation method of rich people? Was it because he was too ill-informed? Was Yushu actually helping her family? At this moment, Mrs. Tang had no more doubts in her heart. No matter what method Yushu used, as long as she could get the compensation, she didn't care what she said. Oh, shield bro, he only gave 3 million. I can't do it anymore. You do it! Yushu felt that it was good enough that she got 1 million more. But Yushu's words were a little ambiguous. I can't do it anymore. You do it! Lin Yi sweated. Why did it feel like she was hinting at something? Meng Ao seemed to have sensed something wrong, but since Tang Yun and Mrs. Tang were there, she didn't say anything. If Meng Ao could sense it, naturally, Tang Yun could as well. She looked at Yushu, not knowing if she did it on purpose or not. Tang Yun felt that Yushu wasn't as dumb as she looked on the surface. She had other intentions. Of course, Tang Yun didn't find any evidence. On the surface, Yushu was indeed dumb. Oh, okay, I'll do it. Lin Yi pretended that he didn't hear it and said. Mrs. Tang's mind wasn't on this. Her attention was on the 1 million, and she didn't have the heart to listen to anything else. Qibing, Sihua, and Su Jianong were the same. Their attention was on keeping Lin Yi's group steady so that Zhang Yuchu would have enough time. All right, Zhao Qibing, don't increase it by 1 million. Tell me your bottom line. Lin Yi didn't know what Qibing was playing at, so he didn't know what his bottom line was. Until now, Linny still couldn't understand why Qibing called him here. Was it just compensation for Tang Yun's family? Linny didn't believe it, unless Qibing, Sihua, and Jianeng were stupid as well. Moreover, Zhao Qibing easily increased the compensation price from 2 million to 3 million, so it seemed like this number could still be increased. 5 million, this is my bottom line, Qibing said. But I have a request. What request? Linny frowned. Was this the reason why they called him here? Chapter 767. A check for 5 million not interfering with the relocation of the slums? Linny didn't think that Zhao Qibing would go through so much trouble just because of this. If Zhao Qibing was afraid that he would ruin his plan, it was possible that he would use money to convince him. Seeing Lin Yi's expression, Zhao Qibing was proud of himself. He had planned this for a long time. If he only gave Lin Yi benefits, then Lin Yi would definitely be suspicious. Wouldn't he be an idiot if he gave him benefits after his leg was broken? While he gave him the money, he also made this request, so everything seemed reasonable. He wanted to demolish the slums, and Lin Yi was the biggest threat. He was afraid that Lin Yi would interfere with the relocation of the slums, so he gave him such a generous compensation. This way, it was equivalent to him showing his weakness. He just wanted to keep his face, so he gave him the money in the name of compensation. This way, Lin Yi wouldn't suspect his ulterior motives. Otherwise, no one would be an idiot. How could he break his leg, collapse his building, and pay 3 million in medical fees, and then pay another few million in compensation? Wouldn't he be an idiot? Zhao Qibing's condition really put Lin Yi in a difficult position. Logically speaking, the relocation of the slums had nothing to do with him. Lin Yi wasn't someone who liked to meddle in other people's business, but the problem was, would Tang Yun let him? So Lin Yi looked at Tang Yun. Tang Yun was actually in a difficult position. If possible, she wanted Lin Yi to take care of the poor people in the slums. If she didn't meet Lin Yi, her family would probably be the same as them. Maybe Zhao Qibing would take a liking to her, and it would be even worse. However, although Tang Yun thought that way, she couldn't do it. No matter how strong Lin Yi was, he couldn't take care of everything, could he? There were so many injustices in the world, how could Lin Yi manage them all? Besides, Zhao Qibing had made it very clear that if there were neighbors that he had a good relationship with, he could help them personally. This had nothing to do with the demolition. However, even if Tang Yun took out the 5 million, there were so many residents in the slums. Each family would only get a few thousand yuan. It was a drop in the bucket. So, Tang Yun hesitated. Mrs. Tang didn't care. What did others have to do with her? If other people were poor and couldn't get compensation, it was because they didn't have the ability. If they didn't have a son-in-law like Lin Yi, who could they blame? They could only blame their daughters for being useless. When her man was bedridden at home, she didn't see anyone give her family money or help her find connections. Although Shanty Town was basically poor, it was impossible for everyone to have no connections. If Tang Juchen could find someone to intercede on his behalf, he wouldn't be unable to get a penny. At the same time, there was another resident in the slums who also worked in the electronics factory. He also scalded his feet due to work injury. He used his connections and paid more than 10,000 yuan. At that time, Mrs. Tang went to their door to ask for help, but that family didn't want to implicate them, so they didn't even open the door. So, Mrs. Tang thought to herself, I don't care if you live or die. I'll take my money and live in my big house. However, although Mrs. Tang thought so, with Lin Yi there, she couldn't make the decision. She could only look at Lin Yi. Oh, okay. Lin Yi saw that Tang Yun didn't say anything. It was obvious that he had the initiative in his hands. But for the slums, the compensation shouldn't be too low. Try to implement it according to the standard? This was the last thing Lin Yi could do. Lin Yi had tried his best to do this. After all, no matter how powerful Lin Yi was, he couldn't force Zhao Qibing to give 5 million to each family, right? He wouldn't be able to earn money then. He would lose money in a few days. I'll think about it. Zhao Qibing nodded. No matter what, he agreed to Lin Yi's request first. If Lin Yi died later, he wouldn't have to carry out the mission anymore. Okay, when will you give me the money? Lin Yi nodded. Oh, I'll get someone to write a 5 million check and send it over, Zhao Qibing said. Isn't it faster to transfer money? Lin Yi frowned slightly. Transfer money. It's like this, our company's account has a monthly transfer limit. Didn't I just transfer you 3 million? So if you transfer another 5 million, it would exceed the limit. Zhao Qibing had already thought of an answer and said calmly. Oh, then get someone to send it over. Although Lin Yi was suspicious of Zhao Qibing's intentions, he still nodded. Okay, I'll make a call now, Zhao Qibing said and gave Sihua a look. Sihua understood immediately. He took out his phone and called Zhang Yuzhou. Hello? Zhang Yuzhou? Where are you? Sihua stood up and walked to the window purposely so that Lin Yi and the others couldn't hear his voice on the phone. Sihua bro, don't worry. I'm in a very safe place, Zhang Yuzhou said. The bomb has been installed. As soon as Lin Yi starts the car, the timer will start. Oh, then prepare a 5 million check for me right now, Sihua said. Okay, I'll go now, Zhang Yuzhou said. In fact, this call was for Sihua to confirm whether the bomb was installed or not. As for the check, it was just a random excuse. After a while, Zhang Yuzhou knocked on the door and walked in. He placed the check in front of Zhao Qibing. Master Bing, the check is ready. Okay, let me see. Zhao Qibing looked at the amount on the check. After making sure that there were no problems, he signed his name on it. He then passed it to Lin Yi. You can make a call to confirm the validity of the check. Lin Yi nodded and took the check. He called the bank and made sure that the check could be cashed before giving it back to Mrs. Tang. Zhao Qibing's attitude today was very strange. Lin Yi had to be more careful. As for what Zhao Qibing said about not letting him interfere with the slums, Lin Yi felt that it was a bit unreliable. In fact, from the start of the demolition until now, Lin Yi was only helping Tang Yun's family. As for the others, Lin Yi didn't interfere at all. With that, today's negotiation ended smoothly. Zhao Qibing didn't ask Lin Yi and the others to stay. He turned to Sihua. Sihua, go send Lin Yi and Miss Wang's family off. Chapter 768. Playing tricks. Sihua had completely defined this negotiation on the level of benefits, which made it seem more real. Sihua wanted Lin Yi to think that they were only compromising because they hoped that Lin Yi wouldn't destroy the slums. Ha, I hope you're telling the truth. Don't play any tricks and reap what you sow. Lin Yi nodded and naturally didn't want to stay any longer. He brought Tang Yun, Mrs. Tang, Meng Yao, and Yushu out of Qibing's office. When Yushu left, she seemed a little reluctant. Zhao Qibing, do you have a recording of your skyscraper collapsing? What do you want? Qibing frowned, thinking that Yushu was a troublesome person. Oh, nothing, I just thought it was fun and wanted to watch, Yushu said. No. Let's go. Qibing was pissed as he waved his hand at Yushu impatiently. Oh, that's too bad. Next time when your skyscraper collapses, you have to tell me in advance so I can come and watch, Yushu said disappointedly. There won't be a next time. Qibing almost jumped out of his wheelchair. Mother *Ker, are you here to cause trouble? I'll blow you up later. Shoo! Meng Yao pulled Yushu back, telling her not to say anything. After all, this was someone else's territory, and Meng Yao was afraid that Yushu would cause trouble. Yushu stuck out her tongue and followed Lin Yi out of the office. The group got into the elevator and went to the underground parking lot. Qibing, Sihua, Su Jiaoneng, and Yuzhou, who were in the office, came to the surveillance room and saw Lin Yi's group getting into the car. They burst into laughter. Haha, so what if Lin Yi is good at martial arts? He's still going to die from the explosion. Qibing laughed. Yeah, you won't be able to cash the check. When the time comes, with a bang, it will explode and the check will turn into powder. You won't be able to cash it. Su Jiaoneng sneered. When Qibing and Sihua were discussing, Jiaoneng had suggested using a check to pay Lin Yi and the others. Once the money was transferred, they wouldn't be able to get it back. Using a check, on the other hand, as long as the check was destroyed, the money in the bank would be gone. And Su Jiaonam, you're still the ghost Dao. Not bad. Not only did you kill Lin Yi, you also saved us a lot of money, Qibing praised. Ha, isn't this because of Master Bing's good training? Master Bing doesn't want to think about such insignificant tricks. Master Bing is someone who does big things. Leave this kind of conspiracy to us little brothers, Su Jiaonam said modestly. And Zhang Yuzhou, is the time bomb okay? Qibing nodded and looked at Zhang Yuzhou. Don't worry, Master Bing, I got TNT explosives. With such a big bag, not to mention a van, even a skyscraper would be blown to the ground, Zhang Yuzhou said proudly. This time, I don't believe that Lin Yi won't die. I'm just worried that when they explode, it will affect other people. That has nothing to do with us. Who told those idiots to get close to their car? They deserve to be blown up. Qibing didn't care about other people's lives. From his perspective, as long as Lin Yi died, it was fine. If other people didn't die, it was their own fate. That's true. Who told them to get close to Lin Yi's car? They deserve to be blown up. Zhang Yuzhou added, I set the time for the explosion to happen 20 minutes later. With the current traffic, it's impossible to reach the First People's Hospital, Lin Yi's villa, or the nearest bank within 20 minutes from Qibing's skyscraper. So, as long as Lin Yi doesn't stop the car in the middle of the road and walk away, he's dead for sure. That's good, then we'll wait for the good news. Qibing nodded, his heart filled with joy. It wasn't that the time hadn't come yet, but what about it? No matter how strong Lin Yi was, no matter how strong he was, he would still be blown up by him, wouldn't he? Lin Yi got in the car, and just as he started the engine, the Jade jumped and sent a signal of danger. As expected, there was a problem. Lin Yi's heart tightened as he quietly turned off the engine. Clack, clack. From inside the car, there was a faint sound that sounded like the second hand of a mechanical clock. Time bomb, that was the first thought that came to Lin Yi's mind. Although he had been in Songhan for more than a month, Lin Yi still hadn't forgotten the cruelty of the battlefield. It was impossible to make such a sound in a car. Since the Jade had sent a signal of danger, Lin Yi naturally didn't suspect that there was a time bomb in his car. In an instant, Lin Yi understood why Qibing had asked him to come here to talk about the compensation. So this was what he was planning. He could stabilize himself during the negotiation, and then, in the parking lot of the skyscraper, he could install a time bomb in his car without any worries. This way, when he drove the car out of the skyscraper, the bomb would explode not long after, and he and the people in the car would be smashed into pieces. This was a good plan, wasn't it? Lin Yi also understood why Qibing didn't use the bank transfer method and used a check instead. After the car exploded, the check would naturally be smashed into pieces. That way, the money in the bank wouldn't be lost. This Qibing wasn't stupid, was he? After understanding Qibing's plan, Lin Yi smiled coldly. He didn't want him to interfere with the slum's demolition? What a good excuse. If it was someone else who wasn't vigilant, they would have fallen into the trap already. Luckily, Lin Yi didn't believe Qibing from the start and had been vigilant from the start. Lin Yi quietly started the car again and drove out of the underground parking lot of Qibing's skyscraper. After entering the main road, he quickly stopped the car at a blind spot by the roadside. This corner couldn't be seen from the skyscraper. An evil plan was born in Lin Yi's mind, so Lin Yi couldn't let Qibing and Sihua know what he was doing. Chapter 769. Chapter 0769. Qibing didn't believe that the police would do anything to him, since there was no evidence. With his status, no one could touch him. But it wouldn't be a good thing if he attracted the attention of the police. What's wrong? Tang Yun asked curiously when she saw Lin Yi suddenly stop the car by the roadside. It's nothing. There seems to be something wrong with the car. I'll go check. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't say anything about the bomb, in case the people in the car panicked. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't in a rush. He wasn't afraid that the bomb would explode immediately, since Qibing and Sihua weren't idiots. They wouldn't set the time for the bomb to go off in a short time. If Lin Yi didn't drive out of the parking lot and the bomb exploded, they would be in trouble as well. Can't you go buy a better car? Meng Yao didn't have high hopes for Lin Yi's broken car. I'll probably go buy one soon. Maybe we can drive yours and choose next time? Lin Yi shrugged with a smile. Oh, I'll let you drive the S5 next time. Meng Yao didn't care about cars. She didn't like things like that. She didn't mind giving it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi didn't reply. With Tang Yun here, it wasn't easy to answer. Tang Yun looked at Meng Yao and pursed her lips. She didn't say anything. What Meng Yao could give to Lin Yi, she couldn't return it to him now. However, Tang Yun's mood had changed a lot. She realized that if she had a grateful heart, she wouldn't feel that Meng Yao and Yushu were hostile towards her. They could help Lin Yi, so why should she stop them? Besides, some things couldn't be stopped. The only thing she could do was to work hard and become someone who could help Lin Yi. Lin Yi got out of the car and quickly found the time bomb Zhao Qibing's men had installed in the car's undercarriage. It was a very old-fashioned mechanical time bomb, and it was easy to dismantle. But in China, in a place like Songzhan, it was already very good to be able to get a bomb of this level. Those high-end electronic bombs couldn't be bought so easily. In such a hurried situation, this was the best he could do. Lin Yi checked the remaining time of the bomb. There were 17 minutes left. The enemy must have set it to explode in 20 minutes. After reading it, Lin Yi did not touch the ticking time bomb, nor did he intend to dismantle it. Lin Yi stood up and got in the car, starting it up again. How is it? Meng Yao asked. Hey, I'll show you a good show later. Lin Yi drove the car slowly on the road. Oh, there's a good show? What kind of show was there? I want to watch. Yushu was excited to see a good show. It's what you want to see the most. Lin Yi realized that Yushu could be considered a prophecy monarch now. Every time she said something unintentionally, it would come true. What I want to see the most? Yushu was stunned. She didn't understand what Lin Yi was talking about. You'll know later. Lin Yi smiled. Meng Yao and Tang Yun were confused. They didn't know what Lin Yi was talking about. They wanted to ask, but Yushu had asked before and Lin Yi didn't say anything specific. So they didn't continue asking. Lin Yi drove the car to a place where he could see the Qibing skyscraper. This place was far away from the skyscraper, but there was still a certain distance between them. Lin Yi was afraid that if the skyscraper really collapsed, it would hurt a few people. Lin Yi found a spot with a good view and stopped the car. Why are we stopping here? Meng Yao was confused. Shield bro, when are we going to watch the show? Yushu asked. Here, Lin Yi said. You guys get off here. Here? Tang Yun and Meng Yao froze. Only Yushu jumped down the car excitedly and looked around. Here. Lin Yi nodded. Here. Look at the Qibing skyscraper. There will be a good show soon. Meng Yao wanted to say something, but seeing that Lin Yi was so sure, she didn't ask any more and got off the car with Yushu. Tang Yun also got off the car with Mrs. Tang. Mrs. Tang was confused and kept asking Tang Yun what was going on. I don't know either. But Lin Yi wants us to watch the show? Let's watch, Tang Yun said to her mother. In fact, Tang Yun had already guessed something. Was Lin Yi going to do something to Zhao Qibing? Would it be dangerous? Tang Yun wanted to tell Lin Yi to be careful, but she swallowed her words when she saw Lin Yi's confident smile. Wait for me here. Lin Yi didn't get off the car and said to Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu. What are you going to do? Don't listen to Shu and mess around. Meng Yao was worried. Haha, I'm just returning something to Zhao Qibing. Lin Yi smiled and started the car, slowly driving towards the Qibing skyscraper. Yao sis, Shield bro said that he wants to watch the show? What are we going to watch? Yushu looked at Meng Yao curiously. I don't know. Didn't I tell you to watch the Qibing skyscraper? Meng Yao pointed at the skyscraper. Oh, is Shield bro going to bomb the skyscraper? Oh, that's awesome! Yushu thought of this possibility and was extremely excited. Shield bro is too good to me. I love you so much! Meng Yao glared at Yushu. What are you blabbering about? It's nothing. Yushu shut her mouth. Tang Yun frowned. Wasn't this Yushu embarrassed? She dared to say anything? Even she didn't dare to say that, right? But was Lin Yi really going to bomb the skyscraper? Tang Yun faintly felt that this was the case. Since Lin Yi asked them to wait here and watch Qibing's skyscraper, something must have happened to the skyscraper. But why did Lin Yi want to bomb the skyscraper? Was it just to please Yushu? Although Tang Yun felt that Lin Yi wasn't a shallow person, she took a closer look at Yushu. This girl was really likable. If she was a guy, maybe she would like her too? Lin Yi calculated the time and drove the car into the underground parking lot of Qibing's skyscraper when there were only 5 minutes left. After getting off the car, Lin Yi locked the car and quickly left the skyscraper. A cold smile appeared on Lin Yi's face. You still want to use the bomb? Then enjoy the power of the bomb. Chapter 770. The skyscraper collapses again. We have to open the champagne tonight to celebrate Lin Yi's death. Our business in Songhan is going to soar. Qibing wanted to kill Lin Yi even in his dreams, and now that his dream had come true, he was so happy that he didn't know what to do. It's about time. The time bomb on Lin Yi's car should be exploding soon, right? Yuchu said as he looked at the time on his watch. Yes, Zihua. Go turn on the TV, the news should be reporting soon. Qibing ordered. Yes, Master Bing. Zihua turned around and was about to turn on the TV when his phone rang. Zihua subconsciously took it out and saw that it was Lin Yi. He hesitated for a moment before answering. He didn't know why Lin Yi was calling him at this time, but it was good enough to hear the moment Lin Yi died. Hello? Lin Yi, what's up? Zihua pretended to be calm. Zihua bro? I just remembered that I have something to do. I'll leave the car with you for now. If anything happens, I'll have to ask for compensation, Lin Yi said before hanging up. Hello? What do you mean? What are you talking about? What? Zihua suddenly exclaimed as he stared at the monitor. He froze on the spot as if a spell had been cast on him. What are you doing? Qibing was shocked by Zihua's sudden quack, and he scolded him, dissatisfied. What? Qibing was shocked by the sudden quack. Master Bing, bad news, bad news! He's back! Zihua only recovered from the shock after Qibing's scolding. He pointed at the monitor with a trembling finger. He's back! What's back? Qibing paused. Lin Yi! Lin Yi's back! Zihua said hurriedly. Lin Yi drove the car back to the underground parking lot. What? What did you say? Qibing was shocked when he heard Zihua's words. He turned to look at the monitor and froze. Lin Yi's broken van appeared in the underground parking lot of Qibing's skyscraper again. Quick, get this car out of here! We don't have the keys. Even if we push the car out now, we won't make it in time. There are less than 5 minutes left before the bomb explodes. Zhang Yuzhou also saw the scene on the monitor. He pointed at his watch while trembling and said, Master Bing, let's run for our lives! Then remove the bomb and throw it away! Master Bing was shocked and immediately ordered. Master Bing, we don't have enough time. Plus, who would dare to go? It'll take us at least 2 minutes to get down from the elevator. Let's run for our lives! Zihua said after a moment of silence. Mother *Ker, hurry up and push me downstairs. Lin Yi, *CK your uncle. You liar! Master Bing's eyes were bloodshot. He was about to explode. Zihua didn't dare to stay any longer. He pushed Master Bing into the elevator with Su Jiaoneng and Zhang Yuzhou following behind. The 4 of them got out of the elevator and ran madly out of the skyscraper. Qibing didn't care about the bumpiness of the wheelchair as he urged. Quick, quick, quick! Quick! The 4 of them finally got out of the skyscraper. When they reached the opposite side of the skyscraper, they heard a loud bang followed by the rumbling sound of the skyscraper collapsing. The majestic brand new Qibing skyscraper turned into ruins in an instant. Qibing looked at his newly built skyscraper collapsing just like that. He wanted to cry but no tears came out. Gone? Gone again? Qibing felt like he was dreaming. The first skyscraper collapsed on the first day it was built. The second skyscraper also collapsed on the first day it was built. This speed was simply unprecedented and would never be matched in the future. Sihua's face was green as well. He didn't expect Lin Yi to do this. Wasn't this too cunning? There were less than 5 minutes left, and he drove the car back. Who would dare touch the car now? Even if they knew there was a bomb, they wouldn't dare to go near it. Fuck. What kind of bomb is this? Why is it so powerful? Qibing's eyes widened as he asked with bloodshot eyes. TNT. I was afraid that it wouldn't be enough to kill Lin Yi. He's a golden class master after all, so I used a strong TNT. Zhang Yuzhou said weakly. Mother ***, my skyscraper. Qibing almost cried. Was it easy for him? The first skyscraper was demolished by Lin Yi the moment it was built. The second skyscraper was also just built and Lin Yi blew it up, but who was to blame? Should she blame Lin Yi, or should she blame herself? Zhao Qibing felt very annoyed. He was supposed to kill Lin Yi with the bomb, but in the end, Lin Yi didn't die. Instead, his skyscraper was blown to the ground. Wasn't this too unfair? If the skyscraper and Lin Yi were blown up together, Qibing would accept it. As long as Lin Yi died, the skyscraper would be destroyed. The point was that nothing happened to Lin Yi. Master Bing, I didn't expect this either. I should have used normal explosives. Zhang Yuzhou explained guiltily when he saw Qibing's distorted face. Lin Yi, if I don't kill you, my name isn't Zhao Qibing. F***CKU. Qibing, on the other hand, didn't blame Zhang Yuzhou. Zhang Yuzhou had done it out of kindness. He was afraid that it wouldn't be enough to kill Lin Yi, so he used explosives. Why would Qibing blame him? Lin Yi was too cunning. If Lin Yi didn't drive the car back, the skyscraper wouldn't have collapsed. But at that moment, Sihua's phone rang. It's Lin Yi. Sihua looked at the caller ID and said carefully, Answer it. Let's see what he has to say. Qibing gritted his teeth. Hello? Sihua picked up the phone. Sihua bro, what happened to your skyscraper? My car is still in the underground parking lot. You guys are too irresponsible. You have to pay for my losses. Lin Yi's voice was pale from the other side of the phone. Sihua wanted to curse, but he didn't after some hesitation. Qibing, who was on the side, heard the conversation as well. He reached his hand out to Sihua. Give me the phone. Sihua quickly passed the phone to Qibing. Lin Yi? You're good, we'll see, Qibing said hatefully. Chapter 771. Shield bro was too strong. Qibing almost had smoke coming out of his head from Lin Yi's words. You're going to call the police? Who am I going to call the police? It's my building that got blown up, alright? But Qibing didn't dare let Lin Yi call the police. If they were to investigate this matter, they might find some loopholes. After all, Lin Yi's car exploded in the parking lot of Qibing's skyscraper. If they were to investigate the source of the bomb, Qibing was afraid that something would go wrong. It's just a broken van. Do you really need that much money? Qibing said hatefully. Master Bing, that's not true. My car is very high-end. I spent 300,000 on it. Lin Yi said calmly. Fuck. 300,000? Qibing almost threw the phone in his hand. 300,000? Why don't you go rob someone? Do you think you're driving a BMW? Even if it's a BMW that's about the same quality as a broken van, it's not worth 300,000. 300,000 I'll pay you. Qibing didn't want to waste time with Lin Yi. But remember, we're not done here. Ha, Sihua bro has my account number. Just ask him to transfer the money to me. Lin Yi smiled. Bank account, it won't be over the limit this time, right? Qibing was infuriated by Lin Yi. He hung up and threw the phone on the ground. Master Bing, we're really going to go bankrupt this time. Sihua didn't care if his phone was broken or not. He built 2 skyscrapers. The first one was funded by Gubong, and Sihua was only supporting him. But the second one was completely funded by Sihua. Sihua's heart was bleeding when the skyscraper collapsed. That was all his money. It was gone just like that. Demolish it tomorrow! Demolish the slums, demolish the orphanage. Build the houses for me. I want to recover all the losses. Qibing roared. Start the demolition project as soon as possible. Yes, Master Bing. Sihua nodded. But the Qibing skyscraper, I'm not doing it anymore. Let's rent an office for now and wait for the money from the slums and the orphanage to build the Qibing skyscraper. Zhao Qibing didn't care about his face anymore. He knew that Qibing real estate had suffered a huge blow. If they didn't make any money, they would really go bankrupt. Qibing had wanted to show House Zhao some results, but not only did he fail to do so, but 2 of his skyscrapers were destroyed. Forget about entering House Zhao, he'd be lucky if the direct descendants of House Zhao didn't treat him as a joke. Okay, I got it. I'll go to Shandy Town tomorrow and deal with this personally. Sihua sighed. How to deal with Lin Yi was Zhao Qibing's problem. At the very least, the people in his hands couldn't fight against Lin Yi. From the looks of it, it was useless to play tricks with Lin Yi. Just like today's bomb, not only did it not hit Lin Yi, but it blew up his skyscraper instead. He was as unlucky as he could get. Not far from the skyscraper, Meng Yao, Yushu, Tang Yun, and Mrs. Tang stood by the roadside and stared at the skyscraper. They didn't know what would happen to it. Yao sis, is there any problem with the skyscraper? Yushu asked anxiously. Don't worry, take your time. Meng Yao didn't know what Lin Yi was doing, so she could only explain it to Yushu. Oh. Yushu just nodded and heard a loud bang. Then, Qibing's skyscraper collapsed as if it was a special effect in a movie. It instantly turned into ruins. Qibing's skyscraper collapsed. Meng Yao's eyes widened, and so did Tang Yun's and Mrs. Tang's eyes. Damn, shield bro is too strong! Yushu smacked her lips and looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief. She didn't think that Lin Yi would collapse Qibing's skyscraper. Although she said that before, she only said that the skyscraper collapsed. It wasn't something that could be done so easily. However, Lin Yi did it. Yushu felt sweet in her heart. Shield bro treated her so well. She wanted to see the skyscraper collapse, so he did it. His mistress was still very spoiled. Meng Yao rubbed her eyes and couldn't believe the scene in front of her. Did it really collapse? Tang Yun also felt that Lin Yi was too ruthless. He just made someone else's skyscraper collapse, and now he made it collapse again. Master Bing said that this skyscraper was worth 100 million. 100 million was gone just like that. How much was that? Tang Yun felt dizzy. Mrs. Tang was also heartbroken. Wouldn't it be great if so much money was given to her family? It was gone just like that. What a pity! Was it fun? Lin Yi came back while everyone was still in shock. Oh, shield bro, you're so strong! I'm so excited! Yushu screamed. I finally saw the skyscraper collapse. It's so fun! Lin Yi, how did you do it? Meng Yao was surprised as well. How did Lin Yi do it? Lin Yi, are you okay? Tang Yun didn't want to be outdone and asked with concern. Ha, Zhao Qibing wanted to kill us, so he put a time bomb in the car. Lin Yi wasn't afraid to explain now that he was out of danger. I just drove the car back to their underground parking lot. Time bomb. Meng Yao was shocked. You said that there was a problem with the car, but you were actually checking for the bomb? That's right, but I didn't say it because I didn't want you to worry. Lin Yi nodded. Why did you do such a dangerous thing? You knew there was a bomb, why didn't you run away? Why did you drive the car back? Tang Yun was scared after hearing Lin Yi's words. If he didn't control the time well, it wouldn't be the skyscraper that got blown up, it would be Lin Yi. Could it be that Lin Yi took the risk just to please Yushu? Tang Yun didn't feel comfortable. Isn't that letting them off easy? Plus, what if the car exploded on the side of the road? Lin Yi shrugged. The best place I could think of was their own skyscraper parking lot, and it wouldn't hurt innocent people. Oh, then did Zhao Qibing die? Yusha asked excitedly. No, I called them before the explosion. If they died, who would pay for the car? Lin Yi didn't think that he could kill Zhao Qibing. Even if he didn't call them, they could still see him driving the car back to the building. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.